Hey everyone, it's Pixelweezy here. There's a couple things I wanted to touch base with you guys before we went on with the first episode of the OverByte podcast. In this episode, we discussed that my voice was only coming in on the left side of people's headsets. Due to having a new microphone and not knowing how to work it, we fixed the situation and it shouldn't be a problem in the future. Also, we did try to discuss it a few times and trying to solve the problem didn't solve the problem. But it's all good now. So, with that being said, that's pretty much it. Let's roll on with the first episode. Alrighty, you guys. It's time. Welcome. It is the first episode of the OverByte podcast. This is really, really awesome stuff. I'm very excited. You guys get to see this weird stuff I have right here, but I ideally wanted it to be just this. So, now you see it. All right. So, welcome everybody to the first episode of the first podcast. You can't hear me? Can you guys hear me now? Twitch, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me, Twitch?
Hello, Ski.
I probably had myself we can hear you. Okay. All right. So, welcome to the first episode of the first podcast. I have a new microphone for one, so my audio is going to be a little bit different. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. I am brought here with my actual co-host that'll be here almost every single episode that we have here, Demonoid, or also I will be calling him and everybody else here, Stuart. So Stuart, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I need a little woo flag.
You need
like a Joker pop gun, but all it just says is just like woot.
It's a little quiet. Can you guys?
I can.
Yeah. How about I turned up the volume, so people should probably be able to hear you better now. I can only use it from my left earphone. How about? That's probably just your headset then. Oh,
yeah.
And then I'm also brought. We also have another guest here today. It is Okiland. He is the owner of the Banjo-Kazooie subreddit and the Facts About Banjo-Kazooie Twitter account.
Hello.
And if there's anything else that you guys need to introduce yourselves with, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Okiland. My friends call me Oki. I run the Facts About BK Twitter. I am the head mod of the BK subreddit, and I run Banjo-Kazooie subreddit's Discord.
Yeah. Why did this tab go away? There we go. Sorry, you guys are going to see some weird stuff that I'm still trying to... I'm like trying to organize everything, so I hope everyone's...
Probably not the best preface to say like, hey everybody, you're going to see some weird stuff about to happen. Just so you know. Not quite like Willy Wonka weird, but you might want to hide the kids.
No. So yeah, this is the first podcast. So what this podcast is, for anyone that doesn't know, because I've chatted about this many, many times here on the stream. So if you're new, you know, what this podcast is going to be is we are discussing I'm a little quiet. Wait, I'm a little quiet.
That's a first.
Yeah, right. If
I need to get a drum set for this. I need a little woot flag, and then I need a drum set just so I can do rim shots constantly.
I actually have an Elgato Stream Deck, so now everything can be what am I trying to say? I can actually have sound effects. Sound effects. Let me try something real quick to see if I can make myself sound louder. I'm probably blocking Stuart now. Yep, I am. There we go. No, I blocked Stuart from everything. Okay. Anyway, as I am fixing this, since I am a little quiet, what
Banjo-Kazooie NSFW version?
Okay, hopefully that is better now. Hopefully I'm a little bit louder. I will turn it up the more we need to. Anyway, what this podcast is, for those that don't know, it is a all general gaming podcast. So essentially what that means is literally everything. We're going to discuss per episode what video games are in their past, their present, and their future, and literally anything that is entailed with the gaming icons or the gaming industry. We tend to go a little overbite, right? It's a bad pun. Very bad. should not feel good about myself on that one. But yeah, that's pretty much what you can expect from this podcast. Literally everything. We'll also discuss like intellectual properties, like Banjo-Kazooie, like we're doing today, or even doing stuff in the future. That are
just a bit of a switch up, so that'll be it. I mean, sometimes it'll be, obviously this is a very near and dear topic, so we want to start it off with a banjo
right and
episode.
yeah,
More broad topics, more specific, some games, some gaming industry as a whole.
right. Exactly. We'll be going into like the overall process of like the gaming industry and what we're looking to expect as we go forward into this weird future of gaming that we have. So, anyway, yeah. So what we're pretty much going to be talking about today for Banjo, if anybody is curious. So we are pretty much going to be talking about what Banjo's presence is, like the IP itself, like how impactful is the IP of Banjo-Kazooie and the potential of Banjo-Kazooie and what we have in terms of what our tinfoil hats can contain in terms of evidence of a new Banjo-Kazooie game. And then, yeah, so that's pretty much it. Let me, first of all, this is going to be a different thing for most podcasts that you probably won't hear too often from, but we are actually, and this may not be good. This may be, I don't know. You guys can tell me this. This is something that I've wanted to do, and that is play a very, very quiet music in the background. So you guys can tell me if this is too much or too overbearing. And if it is, let me know and I can turn that off. I want to be able to make sure that they can talk, and if that is something that isn't going to happen, it's too loud right now, cool, then we will turn that off. That is something I wanted to know and have like in any sort of lull downtime that we can actually just like have that. But if it's too much, then it's too much. So we'll axe that. So now you guys can
It's
just...
so odd that you would have an audio overlay that I can't hear either.
Well, that's just because
like,
it's on stream, so I would be able to hear it. But you guys get to see Bottles just talking in the bottom left. So since this podcast is just nice because it's with me and it's with my co-host and my guest and literally everybody involved, even including chat. I want to be able to have this podcast where everybody is involved in it. Which is why I'm having this live and why we're doing this live and why chat can be seen and everything. So, bottle spitting facts, bonk the bottles. So yes. Anyway, let's get on to our first topic, and that is Banjo's presence. Right. So, what is Banjo-Kazooie and what does it mean to us? And I'm gonna let what Oh my gosh.
What big wang energies.
Christian, thank you so much for being here for 3 months. What is exactly Banjo-Kazooie and what does it mean to you guys?
That's fine. She's already passed.
What is Banjo-Kazooie and what does it mean to you guys?
Oh no, you can go first, Oki.
Oh, okay. I think Banjo-Kazooie is probably one of my favorite franchises. I started off in, I think, 2002 when I was a wee baby boy who liked dinosaurs, and I saw my cousin playing Banjo-Tooie and seeing that Pterodactyl Land was just let you play as a big Tyrannosaurus. I think that's where it all really just started. So I'm one of the guys who likes Banjo-Tooie a little more than Kazooie, but
Banjo-Tooie is a definite
travesty.
It definitely is like I think I like Tooie a little bit more than Kazooie, and it's probably a little appalling for at least chat, who are normal viewers that see me speedrun Banjo-Kazooie literally like probably every other day. as much as I actually like Banjo-Kazooie, I like Tooie more just because of like what Tooie is just, I don't know. I don't know why I like Tooie more. Maybe it's just because it takes everything about Kazooie and there's just more of it. You know, there's just more of it.
Bigger and better.
I think it has one of those things where it's like while Banjo-Kazooie is more focused on the platforming, Tooie's more focused on the adventure part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I think every part of the series has its own kind of focus that's a little different than the rest of the series.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of why like I think I like Tui more, is because it goes above and beyond. You know what I mean? And having Banjo-Kazooie be like the epicenter, like it's of its IP, and looking at the original N64 version of it, it's just so super nice. And like, and for me, when I first encountered Banjo-Kazooie, it was just something that I played as a kid, and it didn't really start like hitting hard into me, like as a person, was when I was, gosh, probably in middle school, early high school is when it started to really hit me. And I'm I'm almost 27.
Probably around the time that Nuts and Bolts was getting kind of hemmed and hawed about, was the point where I remember that spark really taking, because it's like it's new again, and that's the thing. And so it's like, now this is like this gravity that you can kind of get sucked into, and then from there it just never stopped.
Yeah. My audio is only coming through one left ear. Is it?
Is that just for one guy, or is that for?
No, there was somebody else that said that. Maybe that's what was happening. Oh, weird. Maybe it's my new microphone that's doing that.
Is there
anything I would think it would be the deck?
Oh, trippy. I wonder why it's doing that. Oh, you know why? I don't know why.
Well, the problem is you just keep talking out of the left side of your mouth, obviously.
Apparently. I'm not wearing headphones, so I wouldn't know. Same for me. So it's only for when you guys are wearing headphones. I just want to make sure about that.
I don't know. You're coming in.
I thought you were already. Yeah, it's only for when you're wearing headphones. Interesting. Just remove the left side of your mouth. Problem solved. Yeah, got
it. Just transition to the right side.
Okay. Just use your right mouth, forehead. Well, okay. Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna be able to fix that right now. I got it out of my left speaker, not my right, not the right. Weird. You know, I was wondering if that was actually my headset, but I could be wrong. I think it's because I have a new microphone, so that's probably. I think that's actually the problem.
It's probably not the mic. I'm thinking it's probably the controller, if anything.
That too, probably.
I don't understand. I don't know why the mic would like select an audio channel like that.
I don't know.
Like, just make sure you have like, I don't know what the thing looks like. So.
I thought I was listening to this just fine, but it could actually just be my audio.
Can't be a stream without technical difficulties right off the bat.
Of course. That's just how it works, right?
Well, are you getting full audio, or is it just like focusing on the right? Like, are you missing chunks of the audio, or is it just like preferring an ear?
Is it an ASMR stream, or is it just a normal stream?
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
This is ASMR for just people that like walk in a circle on the right.
I want to know
like
if maybe it's.
Do that, like,
oh wait,
no, Twins, you didn't derail anything. This is something we would much rather know now.
Wait, hold on.
I think an hour.
I think I fixed it. How is it now, you guys? I don't know if I fixed it or not.
I can only hear left side words.
That is much better. That is much better. Okay, I just want to know if it's actually coming through both audios now. I think I've made it.
What is a left side word?
Yeah, it's fixed. Okay, cool. All right, cool. Correct. So anyway, as you were saying, sorry everybody for the derail. It's all right. This is why I love doing this online, this live podcast. This works. This is totally cool with me. So anyway, what I personally feel like with
Shed Banjo.
What I feel like this means to me in terms of Banjo personally is like I said, it didn't actually start to really take effect into me until I was about middle school, high school. Because as soon as I got into it, I got like, I got into a lot of like, just playing Banjo-Kazooie as fast as I can. You know what I mean? There's a little background static, but I can't. But I can hear the difference audio. You're coming in a lot clearer. A lot of background fuzz and some background. So now I don't know who to actually hear. Maybe that's because it's this. I have to maybe buy a new audio thing. I had it given to me from a friend. So it's a brand new microphone, but it's a MIDI interface. But I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going. Yeah. We're gonna have to fix this a lot later.
True.
So, anyway, I didn't actually start getting into banjo until like I was still playing it like in high school, and I was playing it over and over and over and over again. And so after I started playing it over and over again, it like just really bringing it in. You know what I mean? Because I was tons of fuzz. Really? God. How about now? Oh, I think that actually
Hard
ruined it.
derail. I love that. That was a smooth transition there. Just full stop.
It's
No.
killing me because I don't
I
want
Fix
to.
it in post.
I heard people call like people tons of fun, but I never heard tons of fuzz.
Tons of fuzz.
Tons of fuzz.
Well, wait a minute. How about you guys? Are you guys
new,
hearing me through just one audio?
No, I hear you pretty nicely, but I'm not listening through the Twitch stream.
Right.
So.
Right. But I don't want to know why that's doing. It's good. It's good now. Okay, I'm just gonna go with it. If it's good now, it's good now. All right. Anyway,
It's good now. 5 seconds later, it's not.
it's not. Yeah, that's gonna be an overarching problem. All clear. All right.
clear.
Cool.
Okay.
We're all clear. We're all clear. All right. I'm gonna go with it. We're gonna roll with it. All right. We're gonna roll with it. So yeah.
Lots of fuzz now.
Gosh.
I'm still missing the.
This
left
is
ear.
killing me, you guys. I'm really trying. I had like just like barely enough time to fix this, like to actually get this all set up.
Yeah, that's my bad. I had him up late last night, and then he had to drive home at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, in the morning, and
I
Yeah,
know.
they're all just telling you to leave it for now.
leave it for now. Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
it's
all right. We're right. All right, we're good. All right, we're
When we
gonna.
upload the VOD, just fix it in post.
Yeah, we're gonna fix
Exactly.
everything
Redub
in
it.
post. Okay, so I played a bunch of banjo in high school. That's pretty cool. And then that really solidified my urge to play. Like that's what solidified my love for it. Like I already liked the game way back in the day. You know what I mean? And so like just playing it over and over and over again, it solidified my love for it. So and that's kind of why I love it so much. And that's why it means so strongly for me because it kept going. You know.
See, I've got a little bit of a different story on my end. I was a big hand-me-down N64 guy, and the reason I love Kazooie so much too, specifically like Tooie and then on, obviously it's one of my favorite franchises, but Kazooie specifically, it's weird because it's kind of like a fairy tale, like when you're little, and it's like I have an irrational attachment to that game. Between like the music, between just the levels themselves. I started playing that, I want to say, it had to have been around, same as Oki, probably about 2000, 2001. And it was kind of a weird time. So we had not to get super morbid, but we had one of my grandparents was living with us at the time, and he was going through some cancer stuff, and he ended up passing. Banjo-Kazooie was how I got through a lot of that, was kind of just this like willful ignorance of the situation. And so it's like it's got this weird crazy attachment because of that. Like anytime I hear the music, I just remember this time in my life where I was oddly super whimsical and happy. Like as funny as that sounds, because he was just that kind of guy. I don't think about him dying, I just think about all the happy memories that go associated with that. And it's just like I don't have a lot of properties like that can just like the second that music starts, doesn't matter from what point in that game. Well, maybe Click Clock would. I'm preferential to Click Clock would. But
Grant has that ability.
It's just an instant. This is my happy place. My happy place is filled with Banjo-Kazooie music,
Right.
And then I just immediately go to the game. Like if there was a game, like it's just like a movie that you watch, and everybody has those movies. Doesn't matter when you put the movie on, you just start playing it. If I just walk into a room and I'm like, oh yeah, you're playing Banjo-Kazooie, I'll just sit there and watch until you're done. That's fine.
Right.
Also, one of the first games I ever 100%ed as a kid. One of the first games I ever like felt the need to 100% just because it's like I just want to explore this space. Like this is just a magical place to be.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I don't think I beat a Banjo-Kazooie game until I was like 13, and that was Banjo-Tooie. And then I've beaten Banjo-Tooie countless times, but with Banjo-Kazooie, I didn't even beat it till 2018. I know it as somebody who has a big Banjo-Kazooie like account. that's one of those sad things. Is it's just Kazooie doesn't grasp me as much as Tui does. So like after you play, like for me, after you play the first 3 worlds, in Banjo Kazooie, it like the first 3 worlds are always a slog for me because I've played them countless times, but once you get past that, all the levels start to get this variety and change, and it's all fun. It's like, I don't know, but with Banjo Tooie, I always have fun, even if half of the game is a pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It's that like you love the IP so much that it tends to like no matter what happens in it, you just tend to always will like it, and then and then you get the nuts and bolts controversies. You know what I mean? So. And,
hopefully we'll try to glaze over that in less than 2 hours.
Well, the next question is, what has Banjo done for the community? And I feel like that's kind of where that comes in. You know what? I'm actually, as I'm talking, I'm actually going to put I'm actually going to do something real quick. So you guys I'm going to keep talking, but I'm going to do something for chat and everything, or for the stream itself. So anyway, what I'm gonna say is what has Banjo Kazooie done for the community, for like what it means, you know what I mean? So like I guess to really frame this question even more is like, how impactful and what kinds of things did Banjo do for the community in terms of its current IP, and how big it was in terms of like when you look at something like Mario or any other platformer that, like, say Crash, for example. Like, you look at Crash and you look at Banjo, but when you think of what is more popular, some people would say Crash, some people would say Banjo. I still think Banjo would be an over, not just because I'm a big fan, but I would still say Banjo.
So Banjo-Kazooie has this insane ability to be a very beloved franchise that nobody knows about. And that's the best way I can describe it, because like Banjo games, like I've never had a series where when you find those people that really like them, they know everything. It's just like everybody's fascinated with the entire series. All the stuff leading up to it with the Project Dream stuff, like everybody that I know that has played a Banjo game generally knows about all that stuff. But then you get people that just like, there's no info about it at all. Like it's a weird difference where it's like, it's not, for how popular of a franchise it is, it's not very pervasive, I would think. And it's so strange because you get a series like Crash, or you get a series like, I mean, we'll just use the big 3 from around there, was just obviously Crash, Spyro, and
Mario.
Yeah, or for like 3D platformers, like around that era. And none of them, I mean, all of them were just like 3D iterations going forward, but like Banjo-Kazooie basically created a genre of games. And you talk to people that played a lot of N64 games, you know, oh yeah, I've seen Banjo on a top 10 list. I've never played it before. I don't know, just never played it.
I think with me, I have a more pessimistic view of Banjo-Kazooie. With my with what I know, it's Banjo-Kazooie came out of Super Mario 64. The success from Super Mario 64 carried the 3D platforming genre to what it was. And this is a horrible comparison, and people will shake their fist at me and scream. But Banjo-Kazooie, in a sense, is the Fortnite of its time. And I say this because Fortnite came from the Minecraft Hunger Games fad that came from DayZ. Banjo-Kazooie came from the popularity of Super Mario 64. And while Fortnite pushed the 3D, or not 3D platform, the survival,
the 100 versus 1 battle royales.
Yeah, they pushed battle royales forwards and put them into popularity. I think that's what Banjo-Kazooie did, because 3D, like battle royales were a fad, are a fad currently, and 3D platformers were a fad back then. Everybody did a 3D platformer. Your mom did a 3D platformer. Just
Animal mascot platforming is just, that was the bread and butter of the 2D era. Even the 16-bit era was built on the backs of forgettable animal mascots.
Yeah, and
Yep.
that's my thing is Banjo-Kazooie is just it came from a fad that was extremely popular. Just like Fortnite came from a fad that was extremely popular.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think the 3D platformers, they died out because it was a fad. That's why I believe battle royales are going to have their time too when they stop making those.
Right. Yeah. It's gonna get to a point where it's gonna fizzle out. But since we're in a setting where where platformers are coming back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is why I think that it's kind of an insane, situation to see because
There's just the reciprocal nature of gaming.
Yeah, I think when people saw how ukulele's popularity when its Kickstarter was funded in like 3 days or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
they saw that hey, 3D platformers still have a market. The AAA developers all lied to us. They all said we just wanted 400 FPS games and gory stuff.
Right.
Now, so ukulele, well, my mixed feelings about it, started the new trend of 3D platformers. Is what I believe.
Yeah.
It's actually just to reel it back a little bit. I think it's absolutely hilarious that you would use Fortnite as an example for that, because even just looking at like Epic and like the Fortnite development cycle, like comparing it to like a Project Dream kind of thing, like Fortnite was this game that completely hard lefted at the last second. And I think it was just that interesting development cycle to, because Project Dream obviously is, it was a completely different game for most of its existence. And then Banjo-Kazooie was kind of just this brainchild that came out of it. The same way that like the game for Fortnite forever was the Save the World. And then they, your people are all sitting in the office, and then the PUBG comes around, and they're like, "Oh yeah, everybody's done for the day. Let's sit and we'll LAN PUBG till 2 a.m, and then we'll come back and we'll do it again."
Mm-hmm.
So then that was this like thrown together mode that they were like, well, we could do that. That'd be kind of fun. This game's not going to come out for another, 4 months. Let's do that. Like, I just remember because I had followed that Save the World, the original Fortnite, pretty heavily. I was really interested in it, and we happened to be at an RTX where they unveiled the Battle Royale, and it was kind of funny just like being in that group of people that are all kind of know about this studio and are excited about this game, to see this like this Battle Royale thing, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's cute." And it's like, "Oh yeah, I'm sure that's a nice free mode you got there."
Mm-hmm.
And then just like by the time I got home from that trip, 2 days, or no, it was probably 5 days later, it had taken off. And it was like, could not believe the traction that got so fast.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought it, not to completely derail, but I just thought that was interesting. Just like the comparison in terms of like that transition of like a dev cycle, even with those two games.
It started out
Yeah.
as a E,
Right.
It was a
Yeah, it's kind of weird because it's like when you look at Banjo and you see that what it kind of did for the community in terms of like how it started completely something different, right? With Project Dream was essentially just it was almost going to be a RPG, was it not?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like a Zelda like.
Right. And that's what's insane to me of how much of a difference it made. And they saw Mario 64 and they're like, oh, well, we have to do that. We can do that. We got to try that. And essentially change the whole course of it. And they had time constraints on the SNES and then the N64 got introduced. So it was a whole different weird thing. And so when Banjo released, there were people saying that it was going to knock Mario out.
Yeah.
I recall reading articles because, to get the best sort of information about Banjo-Kazooie, you got to read those old gaming magazines.
Mm-hmm.
When they did the preview at E3, they all said this game was a ripoff of Mario. It wasn't going to get anywhere. It was another 3D platformer mascot thing, and nobody at Nintendo or in the Nintendo fan circles, understood why Nintendo was pushing this game so hard if it looked like every other generic game at the time. And they also said the name was awful. They hated the name.
Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah, they're like, no, it's not from your hillbilly grandpa. It's like
See,
it,
I
it was
Video
it was
game.
one of those games hated initially by the audience until they actually played it.
Right.
yeah,
And
it
I
was
think that's its staying power is that a lot of people they look at it and they're like, oh well, this is ridiculous looking. What the hell?
I
And then they play it and they're like, oh, I get it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it,
it's one of those things that I think Banjo Kazooie is just going to be constantly cursed with.
yeah.
Every new game is going to be hated until people actually play it.
Which brings up to the question of nuts and bolts. Like, I'm seeing chat mention it already, and it's as someone mentioned that nuts and bolts is the Halo 4 and 5 of the Banjo series. It's still Banjo, but a lot of people are salty about it. And I as I read that, I was like, that's actually kind of a good point.
I don't know. I take exception to that. I think Banjo Nuts and Bolts was. It could have been. I think.
This is where,
At
by the way,
most-
hold on.
most-
I'm gonna take a quick pause. This is where shit's gonna get down for a lot of
This is-
people, and
this
I
is where it
know,
goes
I
downhill.
know, Oki and I share the same opinion on this, and this is where you're gonna differ a lot. But you might actually be the favoritism in this conversation here. But go on. Sorry.
Probably. I
Sorry, I
think
did
that
spoil
Nuts
you
and
this.
Bolts is a victim of poor expectations and misrepresented expectations. Kind of like a game that just recently came out. Funny enough, it is a game that was promoted as one thing, and then it was something that was completely different. And I think that's most of the problem because I think that Nuts and Bolts is a fine game. It's a little wonky, in terms of mechanics, but it's a bad Banjo game, and not because of the game itself. It's just it was a poor expectation because they promoted that trailer when I remember the day that release trailer came out, and that's probably one of my most vivid memories of 8th grade was
Oh,
the day
yeah.
that freaking just walking through the blueprint hallway and just like, oh my god, it's happening.
Yeah, I
And
remember.
to get it,
Yeah, that
and
was
it's
I think I watched that trailer like
yeah,
probably 100 times, and since you and I were in 8th grade, we were in the computer lab and we were just watching it, rewatching it, rewatching it, and I was like, oh my god, this ability where Kazooie turns into a drill and she can unlock doors, like holy shit, what are we gonna see? This is gonna be super sick.
It was just like the speculation hype train.
But
it was insane.
We were actually just talking about this in the Banjo Kazooie Discord too, Keelan. We literally were like, people were just talking about this like probably like 2-3 days ago about how that trailer in itself was a trailer for a Banjo game where they still didn't know what Banjo game they wanted to make.
Yeah, it came out in 2006, so it had to be roughly either before the transition to Nuts and Bolts or right at the start of it, where they and from what I can tell, is because it's a CGI trailer. They already decided in 2005 they wanted the cubish art style.
They were going hard on that Viva Pinata look.
Yeah, that
was new rare.
Which I don't mind, by the way. I'm gonna say that right now. No. I actually don't mind the design of the characters for Banjo, Nuts and Bolts. The only one I truly don't like, oddly enough, is Banjo and Kazooie.
Actually, yeah, Klungo's the only one I didn't like. It came off kind of weird looking.
So I see chat talking about Nuts and Bolts being struck by company attacks. Nuts and Bolts Microsoft had nothing to do with Nuts and Bolts.
Yep,
that was all internal.
Yep.
Very, very common misconception there. A lot of people like to really lay the blame on Microsoft's feet for a lot of the missteps, but the fact is Rare was in a very strange place developmentally there.
You got to think about it.
You got to see the next couple games that came out. I mean, I think the only one that really had a little bit more Microsoft to blame would be probably the Conquer reboot, or
the Live and Reloaded.
Yeah, that's the only one, and it's just like the decisions made there were just more strange than overbearing. Like it seemed like weird hills to die on for some of the creative choices there. I think they
Yeah,
did a lot of things really good with that remake. I think trying to push the new modern multiplayer was a really great idea, but just some of their censorship issues were just strange.
yeah. So from what I've done, because you know, you get a lot of information. What happened is the reason why Conquer Live and Reloaded was censored so badly. Well, one, Chris Seaver thought it would be funnier, but two, it would. They actually is because Walmart refused to sell the game.
Yeah, I could see
They
that.
they changed it because their biggest seller would not sell it because game stores weren't really hitting their market yet at that point. Um, and do you know what the ironic part is? Almost all of the Conquer projects have all been because of Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's because
Young Conquer was because of Microsoft, and so was Project Spark. Rare had nothing to do with those two.
Isn't technically Banjo-Kazooie like among one of the only IPs that Rare technically still owns? Like, isn't technically Conquer part of Microsoft's IP?
Yeah.
But but Rare is Banjo's like only existing. Well, I think only existing IP.
There's Banjo-Kazooie,
right?
And then Cameo is actually co-owned, where Cameo is like the games and stuff are owned by Rare, but all marketing and everything else is owned by Microsoft.
Yep. So we'll see if Thieves is technically Microsoft's as well.
Yeah, everything Rare is going to produce now will be under Microsoft.
Right, which is probably why Banjo still hasn't gotten much anything at this moment, is because it's still technically Rare's IP, which they can do anything they want with, but it's think of it as okay, well, I'm going to go on this tangent, but I'm going to double back. Think of it as Rare's Mario IP that Mario didn't really succeed. So it's their flagship, but they also are a little afraid to get it going. And we're going to be talking about this later, but
they're afraid to let it go,
because
even though they're fully aware
not
that
let
they're
go,
not going to be the ones to keep it going.
Not let it go, more like make another one, because I think that's technically what's going on. I think they might be a little too afraid to it. But again, this is a point that I'm going to bring up later, so we're going to discuss this later.
We're really interested. Yeah, we gotta.
Okay, so what I was going to say was people have to realize that when Nuts and Bolts was coming out, or they wanted to when Rare was wanting to make another Banjo game, they had a whole new audience to go on. You know what I mean? So you had literally like Halo people, first-person shooters. First-person shooters is pretty much the only genre that anybody cared about at that time. But it was a new audience that they had no idea what to go into. And people don't expect that. So they think that Microsoft was the one that did that to them because they tried to appease that audience. But in all reality, Microsoft's like, do whatever you want. You're with us now. And technically, people don't realize that
back catalog. Why would we ever do that?
Nintendo, as much as everyone loves them, Nintendo was actually worse on Red than Microsoft was. And no one knows that, and no one wants to admit that. And that's the hard reality to that. And people have to realize that it was Rare's decision to do Nuts and Bolts. It was Rare's decision to make it the way it was, because they were going to do a remake, and the remake was going to be something completely like, it was going to be a remake but different and later parts of it
on a different scale.
It was
a remake off the rails.
And it was going to things were going to things were going to change as they progressed, you know what I mean? And that was something that was really cool to me. But the only reason why that didn't go further was because of Conquer. Was because of Live and Reloaded, because Live and Reloaded failed so hard. So
I think Live and Reloaded was one of the catalysts, because they already say we didn't want to work on a platform. We were still kind of burnt out from DK64, Tui, Kazooie, and stuff. So they're thinking, oh well, we really want to bring back Banjo, but we're kind of iffy about it because we don't want to do a new 3D platformer. And then we just got told, hey, our remake of Conquer just kind of sucked. Or it didn't really suck, but the reception was unpopular.
Right.
So, it just pushed them over, they're like, well, we didn't want to do it. It's kind of like being invited to a party that you didn't want to go to, but luckily the party canceled, so you didn't have to go and tell everybody, oh, I didn't want to go.
Yep.
And thank God everybody hated this. Now let's do something else.
See,
and
Yeah.
then at the same time, though, I mean, I can't even fault them for wanting to do something new. I just don't think it should have been Banjo. That's the thing. I think that Nuts and Bolts could have really rocked the house at the time. I think it's a great concept for a game. Aside from some weird open world emptiness issues that they, it's just funny that people at Rare seem to have an issue where past Banjo-Kazooie, in my opinion, most of their 3D platformers feel very empty in terms of their world. Like the world is cool
I think
and it's big, but it's just is like, where's all the stuff?
I think that's what carried over from that, because they said, oh, these worlds are too small, but instead of like, they just made them bigger, but with the same issues they had from Tui, and DK64.
Right, and that was
DK64. I think was a little bit better. Like Tui, I think was definitely the point where it started.
I think Tui had more things.
A little bit.
I think Tui had more things in its world. The only world that I think that didn't in Tui that just kind of felt empty in some cases, which is funny because I think you might disagree with me on this one, Oakland. I'm not sure. Is Pterodactyland?
No, I agree with Pterodactyland because it was made large for the T-Rex
for the T-Rex. And
you have to do with
I know, and that's the thing is you only need to do one thing with the two things you have to do with the T-Rex, which is the switch for the Jinjo and scare the caveman, and that's it. And it's like if they added just a little bit more things you could do with it, then it'd probably be better. But other than that, like you gotta. This is my thought on how I think Nuts and Bolts could have been way more well received, and that was if they had done and they just didn't care what Conqueror's reception was, and they decided, okay, we're gonna make another Banjo game, and this is how we're gonna do this Banjo game, and then they did Nuts and Bolts after said Banjo game, Nuts and Bolts would not have been hated.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
Would not have been hated at all.
It's because people waited 10 years and then they got a game that plays like a spin-off.
Right.
While saying it is the new main game.
Right. And that's which is why I think that it would have been better if they did and just said, I don't care. Conquer didn't do very well, but let's just do it anyway. And let's just do another one. And then we have this idea for Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, which, again, that's not how the events happened. But if they just did it anyway, because the ideas for Nuts and Bolts didn't come in until after the failing of Conquer anyway, right?
Yeah,
at least that's what I would assume.
That's the other thing that you got to remember too. Like I luckily have a little bit of insight on just in the room there because I had a cousin who happened to have done beta testing for Nuts and Bolts. And to come off of that emotional hit from Live and Reloaded and then wanting to do a new thing and then going forward with that, the vitriol was in the room from Rare's side because it was a pretty unanimous decision from all the people that were there, at least when he did his testing, was whatever this is fun and it's fine, but why the hell is Banjo on it? And then everyone was like, well, you just don't know. Like, you just don't get it, basically, was the reaction. So it's like they had an emotional hit from that, and then to just say, okay, cool, we can pivot this into a new direction. We could take a new spin on things. We could still use Banjo because that's kind of what we want to do anyway. And then to then immediately just get slammed again was a pretty rough go for a lot of the Rare staff, I think.
I think with Nuts and Bolts, what had happened is, you work on a project too long and you don't know when to actually quit. And I think they were just using the Banjo IP for so long.
Yeah.
They didn't know. They didn't think about, maybe it doesn't fit. Because I think if Nuts and Bolts was basically like a Banjo Tooie, but with vehicles, I think but it didn't have like the uglier character design, or it didn't have the this is going to be debatable because people love the Nuts and Bolts soundtrack, but I think it's easily the most forgettable in the series.
Yeah.
So it has that. Then it has challenges instead of things scattered in each world. So your stuff doesn't happen. And then you add in the meta commentary where everything is fake because the god just told you, hey, I'm making these things just because I want you guys to compete for this world that I made for you. You know,
And then insult you for wanting the other thing.
yeah, and then and that's British humor, and
Yeah.
I mean, DKC did it too with Cranky Kong, but I think because Banjo-Kazooie fans waited for 10 years at that point, that it just hit them all at once. There was far too many changes for the game to be successful with the original audience.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I think that, like, it's a weirdly touch and go subject, and I just kind of wish that a lot of people understood that fact. You know what I mean? And that's kind of why I wanted to bring it up in the podcast, and hoping that the people that didn't understand that kind of got that picture. So it's like, when you see people that are like, oh, we want a Banjo 3, like, give me a Banjo 3. Well, Banjo 3 is nuts and bolts. That's just it.
It makes it harder because Showdown Town is a phenomenal hub too.
Yeah.
What made it so much worse is it's like, this is a game. Like, there's a game here. I see it. I can play it. This is a Banjo game in this area. It's just, it's scrubbed. Like, I just feel like every time I make some progress in a nice, fun direction with a platformer, it's like, oh no, shit, I gotta go do the car stuff again. Damn.
Yeah, I think and this is probably the more popular opinion of Nuts and Bolts, is if every world was designed like Showdown Town, it would have been a popular game. It would have been more popular with the original audience.
That would have, because Showdown Town was what gave, like, life to Nuts and Bolts, which was something that technically
desperately needed.
It didn't have life in some of the worlds in Nuts and Bolts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you go look at Logbox 720, the internal Xbox 360 world, where it's like, it's all manufactured. I mean, every other world's manufactured. You can see it in Nutty Acres, where
I think, and that's,
everything is manufactured.
And that's what I like about Nuts and Bolts, is that I like that aesthetic. That was the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it comes off, but it's like it's you keep waiting for that life to come in, and then even when you get to Banjo Land, you're like, oh, this is cool. Look at all these references, and then after like 10 minutes, you're like, oh no, this is still somehow soulless. And I don't
think Nuts and Bolts is necessarily soulless. I think it's just it has some kind of, like, it's a misunderstood kind of concept. Like, they wanted everything to be manufactured, like, oh, this is the new age, kind of like the industrial revolution of Banjo-Kazooie games. But it just came off as this it felt rushed because the game was supposed to be rushed,
right?
Because that's why, like, in Nutty Acres, how there's those stitching between textures and everything.
Yep.
Those are literal texture seams, like they were done like hastily, but they're not texture streams in quotes. They're actual texture seams.
Yeah, they're done on purpose.
Yeah, it's all funny, like, meta commentary on the game, but it does not pass to the average person. Nobody understands that unless they were a game developer.
Exactly.
Right. And it's like, it felt like insult to injury to their audience, which was upsetting.
So,
yeah, which
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna switch gears a little bit and kind of
go. That's fine.
I was gonna say, like, so at that point, because we're, it's like, I guess the lead up to this is, what would you guys say, like, how important how important Banjo-Kazooie is to Rare and Microsoft in terms of its IP? Like, they haven't done anything, right? They haven't done anything currently, like right now. Like,
I don't think it's important at all. I don't think Rare is interested. I don't think they should be. I think that they've moved on. Everyone's moved on, and I think it's up for some new people to. As much as I have
not in terms of making a new game, but it's IP.
I don't really think it is.
Yeah,
I think that they have much more beloved properties that are to, like, the populace as a whole.
But then you look at stuff and, like, what they did with Smash. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean.
But that was the most requested character most
that's
requested character of almost
Yeah.
all IP that anybody, like Sakurai even said, he said literally any time we would get a question about, can you put Banjo-Kazooie in Smash? Can you put Banjo-Kazooie in Smash? Ever since Smash 64. Ever
Right.
since Smash 64 that they wanted Banjo-Kazooie in Smash.
But that's what I mean about it being like almost a hidden gem in a way, because like I said, it's such a fascinating point to all the people that do love it, but then like the general populace seems to just be almost unaware of it. And then you have these moments where, like when the Nuts and Bolts trailer came out, where you're like, suddenly you're like, everyone's like, you can almost look around the room and you see who's excited that day, and like, oh cool, they're a Banjo fan, like I get it. And Smash reveal was that cranked up to 1,000,000. It was just like and whether a lot of people are like hopping on this bandwagon for the first time or not, it was a collective internet breakdown for a good 6 hours at least. Where it was just like there was people I work with. I do tree work. So I mean, I work with a bunch of grizzly old men. We happened to be working like 3 crews that day, and like a third of the people at work all stopped collectively. I was up in the air in a bucket, and I was getting like yelled at because I'm just sitting on my phone watching this reveal trailer, and then just like, okay, well, I've watched that enough. I just want to see how other people are reacting to it. And it's crazy to see all that swelling of people all of a sudden.
Yeah, I was working at a store, and when it happened, I mean, I've said this on my stream already to people, so my regular viewers are gonna know this. But when I was watching the Banjo reveal trailer for Smash, I actually cried. Like that was the first time that I actually had a video game trailer made me cry. Like, and I was working at a store where I had to deal with random people. You know what I mean? Like there was random people walking by me, and so they were looking at me like, and I'm just like, what? It's happening.
And like that's what you say, like, are you okay, man? I was like, it's Banjo and Smash.
Well,
I slowly back away.
Yeah, I cried too. I actually screamed so loud that because I'm living with my parents because I just got out of the university because it's cheaper that way. They slam open my door and they go, "You're a grown ass man. Stop screaming." Just
you don't understand me. And then you slam the door back.
Yeah, I was walking around with my phone in my hand like this, and I was just like, I was like, oh my god, because I was like trying. I wanted to scream. I wanted to jump up and scream, but I couldn't. I was in a store, and I didn't want to like freak everybody and make the entire store go silent. So I was like walking around like, oh my god, it's happening, it's happening. Banjo's in Smash. Oh my god, this is the potential for literally everything.
You should just pull the fire alarm and then just go have like a private party in the back, like while everybody else is bailing out. You're just like,
it was really funny because I actually went back because like my job was I was working at a store, so I had to work with like another guy like stocking shelves, and we went to store. So like I went and I got into the truck with my coworker at the time, and I was like, fucking Banjo just got announced for Smash, and he's like, who? I'm like, fucking Banjo, and I'm just like, it's so great, and I'm so happy, and I'm so excited, and I was like freaking out, and I was like, I know you're gonna make fun of me, but I was actually crying, and he's like, it's still cool, man. I don't know why you cried, but it's still pretty cool. I'm like, I'm so happy, and I'm like, I get to go home, and I get to go play him today, and like my tinfoil hat was on hard because I was like, oh my god, this is the potential for new shit.
You know what I mean? Have you seen some of the fan games that were coming out of it?
From using the
Kazooie, yeah, from the Smash Brothers.
I haven't seen much of them. No.
Oh,
but I heard about them.
Yeah, there's a I think it's called Banjo-Kazooie RMX. It's an Unreal Engine thing, and it looks okay as a fan game to look like, but right now that they have a demo out, and it's just really cool to see Banjo-Kazooie be revived, because the unfortunate thing is the Banjo-Kazooie fandom, like other than fan art, is not that creative. They rather put in more effort, like screaming and crying about Banjo-Kazooie than actually make a fan game or do stuff. you know.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I think right now, like, in terms of like, this is why we actually switched to a different file for our second actual topic, which is Banjo's potential. And it's like when you see things like fan games from certain genres, like Sonic in particular, like
I got some really cool fan games.
call it what you
been like he has just been a juggernaut for the
fan games,
like homebrew game scene.
Yeah,
forever.
Call it what you want for Sonic in the games, and like I like Sonic just as much as the next guy, but like it's like you get that IP, and it's just like, hey, they have the cringiest fan art, but their fucking fan games are on a whole nother level.
Look at Christian Whitehead. Christian Whitehead that was what that whole him and whoever else he has helping him, like, they made Sonic games.
They made Sonic Mania too.
And now their Sonic game is better than Sonic Team's Sonic games.
Yeah.
Yeah, when are we gonna get a Banjo team? Come on.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Right?
You start giving us low tier Banjo games, fill in the void.
Yeah, I know. When am I gonna get Banjo Heroes and a Kazooie game where she's got a gun?
The Skylanders edition.
Kazooie is the gun.
Yeah, Kazooie is the gun. Yeah. So it's nice to see that, like, you got Mark Kirko, and his mods, they're amazing.
Yeah, but it's one guy.
It's one guy. It's one guy. There's other fan mods. You know what I mean? They got mods that are just taking the stuff from original Banjo-Kazooie. And that's the thing is, for me, and what I would like to see is Banjo-Tooie shit. I want to see.
That's tough, though.
And that's hard.
I think
they need someone to go through and scrub that game out before they can really start doing anything fun with it.
Yeah, Mark Kirko, he was hinting at the Banjo's backpack team, or some sort of internal team is working on a 2E project.
Yeah.
Which, great. I would love to see it, but, I want to see it out.
Yeah, I want to see something from it currently, like, just to be like, yeah, it's the thing. But it's like, it's kind of rough because it's like, I want to know. Yeah, it's a thing that apparently exists that I have not seen yet, and it sucks because I really want to know what's so hard about it, but at the same time, I know nothing about coding, and I know that it's crazy, and I know I've heard that it's just nonsense, but I want to see Banjo-Tooie mods.
Yeah, from what I know, because I used to know one of the main modder guys before we eventually banned him from the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
He would talk about it. He just talked about that the original guy, the original coder. He quit the project because some internal drama or something happened there. But what Banjo-Tooie is it has a different engine than Kazooie. It's a fairly updated engine of Banjo-Kazooie. So it takes them longer, but we already have like model viewers. We can see the internal workings.
Right.
We can place stuff manually, but we can't add stuff or import new models, anything like that.
Yeah, and and that's, I mean, I've seen like Mark Kirko take the Banjo-Tooie models from it, and put it in like the Banjo-Kazooie engine. But it's kind of a bummer because at the same time, the mods are great and they're a good way to change it up. But as you were saying, it's like, when are we going to get fan games? When are we going to get someone who uses either the Smash model or makes their own Banjo model that is in similarity to the Smash model and just make a fan game from it? Like, and I'm not trying to say like, people need to make fan games because mods are dumb and they're boring, and I don't think anyone should ever have anything else. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm expecting to see it in the future, and it sucks to see an IP like this that has so much goddamn potential to go down the drain.
I think Oki really touched on it earlier, that like Banjo fans are a lot of talk, but at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like anyone's willing to put the work in.
It's stomp slam.
That's what you got to do if you're going to do a fan game like that. You got to be willing to go in there, and you got to be able to take that source code and you got to tear it apart, and you got to go from the ground up. And it's just, nobody's willing to put in the work right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I think with the fandom, I don't know if we have something to talk about the fandom later in the itinerary, or if this is a good segue into that.
I think so.
Well, with the fandom, I think it's in a weird place, right? Because it was practically dead before Smash Brothers. Like, and the only thing keeping it running was rumors, like
Mhm.
the Grunty Land Banjo Kazooie rumor.
Right. Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah,
With
and
I think I might have the image. I think I might have the image for that. Let me see if I can
yeah, and
find that.
I found the source of the image too. It goes to some fan site, Banjo Kazooie, like called Banjo Comet from
Mm.
2011. So that fake leaked image was leaked 2 years prior.
Where
Um,
do you have that image? Can you send that to me?
yeah.
Like on hand, real quick. I want to put it up. If for the people that don't know what that is. But go ahead and
Yeah,
keep going.
this one's new to me.
Yeah, here. If you ever want to look up something on the facts account for facts about Banjo Kazooie, literally, just go into the search bar, type in from colon fact at facts about BK, and then type in like a keyword that would be there. So like,
Grunty Land.
yeah. Let's see if yeah, Gruntyland. Let me find the web archive source. And I could just post it now.
Yeah. I want to put that up. I want people to see who haven't been able to, because it is kind of an interesting. Like that image went and sparked a ton of stuff. Like it was ridiculous.
I
Grunty
do
Land.
remember seeing this actually.
Yeah, the Grunty
Um,
Land. Let me see if I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you want the actual the leak that was
Oh yeah,
spread around.
the leak too. The leak would be great.
That's the logo. Here's the
Oops. People are
Yeah.
probably gonna see that now and I'll be like, oh, what is that? Hold on. They're gonna see a glimpse of it. Okay, hold on. Let me put this up for you guys. God damn it.
I've seen that same 2D image tons of times. You don't have to show me. That's
So this image, I don't think I can make it any bigger, but let me see if I can. So this image, for everyone that doesn't know, this image right here sparked so much tinfoil hattery. It was ridiculous. It even sparked a thing for me because it actually made sense for what happened at the end of Nuts and Bolts, which spoiler for anyone who for some reason wants to care about the story of that game.
For the 4 people that managed to finish Nuts and Bolts.
Yeah. Grunty essentially says, "Oh, well, I'm going to make my own game." And it just made sense for Grunty Land to be a thing. And so, and funny enough, Motorsport 5 was real. Spartan Assault was real. Quantum Break was real. Halo 5 was real. Dead Rising 3 real. I don't know what the hell the bottom left logo is. Fable 4
Fable 4.
Fable 4 is technically happening.
I guess.
Yeah, Fable 4. Okay, so what happened with all these leaks? Halo 5, Forza 5 were all like
No
safe guesses. Fable 4 was because what had happened is they knew that there was a Fable game in the creation, and then they showed it off. It was Fable Legends, which eventually got canceled. So Halo Spartan Assault was found because of a patent update for Halo.
Mm-hmm.
So that was given an early thing. And Quantum Break, I'm pretty sure, was also leaked. So whoever made this 4chan leak, clearly, like, they did their research.
Yeah.
They looked into everything. You can make a fake leak extremely easily. I remember a fake leak that was going through the Banjo Kazooie Discord. If I could find it. Basically, it was Rare Replay is being ported to PC and Nintendo Switch.
I bit that one hook, line, and sinker.
Let me see if I could find.
That was the most recent thing too.
Yeah.
This was a.
I think they had a trailer come out too. Like that was a real good one. I remember seeing like lists of all the games that they were going to add because it was going to be on the Switch because they can get Nintendo properties now.
This one was very more specific than those ones, but I can't seem to find it. It just labeled all these companies that were going to do it, and then when you look into the companies, it seems like something they would genuinely do. Crap, I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, because I remember I shared that with you, like when I saw that leak.
Right. Yeah.
I was just absolutely floored. And the funny thing is, I was more as as funny as this is given the context. I think I was more excited to finally get the DKC trilogy on a modern console.
Well, yeah. Now you have it
sick
through
of
the
having
MSN on.
Yeah. This leak didn't have that. This one was talking about how it was just going to be a straight port of all the games to the Nintendo Switch, but some of the ports were going to be downgraded. Like the nuts and bolts gameplay was going to be capped at a certain FPS for this Nintendo Switch console, stuff like that. But I can't find it now.
Well, it was it's insane to me to think that you get these leaks and these things, and it always grasps everybody, right? It always grasps the attention of even the regular audience, like who don't know Banjo, right? Or not know Banjo, but like played Banjo once way back in the day, and they're like, "Oh my god, a new Banjo game? What?" And so when they leak stuff like the Grunty Land stuff and the Rare Replay coming to Switch, everyone loses their fucking mind. Like even just the regular people who haven't played Banjo since day one. And so it's the same bandwagon as the Crash Insane trilogy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just, I think it's just one of those things that Banjo-Kazooie, I don't know why, but I think it has the most rabid fan base outside of Paper Mario fans.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god, Paper Mario.
Yeah. Paper Mario. So you sent me the thing?
Yeah, this one.
Yeah, it's on the
Rare Replay is coming to PC and Switch. PC port will be done by Iron Galaxy, and Switch port will be done by Virtuose.
I don't know if you guys can. I don't know.
Can you imagine
an
Iron Galaxy Rare Replay? Everything those guys. I love those guys.
I don't know if you guys can. I don't know if chat can read this. I don't know if the quality of the text is good enough for it, but I try to zoom it in as best I can. So if anybody can see that, I don't know if they can or not. I mean, it's small. It's small for me.
If you full screen it, it looks okay.
It's full screen. It's just I zoomed in, but I think it's about as best I can do.
Yeah, the port sounds so disappointing that it sounded real.
Yeah.
Like it says, no added content like DKC, anything like that, just a port of Xbox One version of Rare Replay. 60 FPS on all titles except for Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, which is locked at 30 FPS.
And that honestly just makes sense, though. I feel like that's exactly like something that Microsoft would do, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you think about it, all these N64 games, if they're not running at 60 FPS at this point, something's wrong.
Yeah.
It says Rare Replay PC, available day one on PC Game Pass, available on Steam and Windows Store. It's realistic in terms of what it is. Mm-hmm. It's not like outrageous, like, oh, we're adding the entire Donkey Kong trilogy and we're adding all of this stuff to it, make it the superior definitive version of Rare Replay that people would go and buy a Switch for instead of an Xbox. That wouldn't make sense for Xbox.
Exactly. So it's kind of crazy to me to just see how much people pick up on leaks like this. Like, I mean, I've put my sense into the Banjo Discord a few times, and I have enjoyed in the Tin Hattery, and that's just how I am. I will take a leak and run with it if it's realistic enough. I didn't actually see this one, funny enough.
I don't know how far it went. I just know it went into a few Banjo related discords, but that was about it.
Yeah, like this one's interesting, and it almost kind of comes up like because I want to go into the to the other things that I have made for I have for the potential, but the one that I want to go into that is the most recent, like literally the most recent, like as in last week, and I think I know what you're gonna, I think you know what I'm going with, is
Yeah.
the Wii U Virtual Console stuff that happened with Nintendo. You know what I mean? Like they had the actual thing, um on their website, and then it got taken down. And I think I have the archive that you sent me,
Yeah. Um,
which is
I
right
was just
here.
lucky enough. I was lucky enough to see when Jamatsu reported on it. Oh, when they only had 100 likes, so then I got credit for half of it.
Where? Yeah. Is
Yeah, it
it?
would be on the bottom, like Control F, and then look up Wii U.
Okay.
And if you don't do the archived version, there should be a Japanese text at the top saying, "Oh, Banjo Kazooie and Blast Core was a mistake."
I don't think I did Wii U. I did Wii U. I'm not finding anything.
Oh, is it? I wonder if it updates from an actual real time
Maybe it's not
list.
on there.
Oh, that would suck. That means I archived that for no reason.
Well,
Um,
even still, I mean
yeah.
that even got like.
I mean, even Game Explain talked about it, so
Mhm.
it's not like it's this leak that nobody knows about.
Right, but essentially the whole thing was that Japan put out a thing on their website about Banjo-Kazooie and Blast Corps coming out to the Japanese only consumer base
Version of Wii U.
Wii U Virtual Console, and people were like, "Why? Wait a minute, why?" And then the next day, I think it was actually not even the next day, less than a day. I think it was like 12 hours that Nintendo then just noped it off their website and didn't. They just said, "Yeah, sorry, this was a mistake," but didn't say anything more about it, which is
Yeah.
Nintendo. This is literally just how
Right.
Nintendo is. But
Which is just, to me, it just says that it was just a really catastrophic mess up from somebody.
this is
Because
where
it's
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was gonna say because it's probably, I mean, that kind of stuff. Odd. It's odd that they would post it on the website for sure, like that it got that far, but like that like press release style add-on would have been like already made up does make a lot of sense because I'm sure that they do primers for a lot of that stuff with the anticipation that they'll be able to figure out that licensing stuff later, especially with a
So
lot of the virtual console stuff.
so I was talking with a few people over at in the Discord and also on DK Vine.
Mm-hmm.
And DK Vine's like the one of the oldest rare based fan sites to
Right.
exist. They think what happened is Microsoft was negotiating with, or Microsoft and Rare were negotiating with Nintendo back when the Wii U was popular to get DK64 um, onto because they have to negotiate every time to get DKC and DK64 onto anything Nintendo.
Right.
So they think that 12/30/2020 was such a far off date that it was a placeholder date. And when they were planning on doing more rare IP at the time to port onto the Nintendo consoles, because I don't think Rare Replay was even conceptualized yet, because this was 2013. They just messed up. They just forgot to remove those two. They were like placeholder dates when they would have possibly added.
Right. It
And
was
then
all.
added in at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it could be the remnants of something that fell through years ago, or it's possibly something that's going to happen sooner than later, like Nintendo 64 Online, and this was just a mess up.
Right.
Which is what, of course, a lot of people are buying into. Me. And
I mean,
and I
it's
think
a logical jump.
it's a exactly, it's a logical jump. It makes sense that it's a thing that it can go for. But
I think it's gonna take longer. I think we're more likely to see like a Game Boy. I'm actually juiced for like a Game Boy, original version. I think that would be a lot easier to deal with. I think trying to get that N64 online kind of system set up is gonna be a nightmare. It's gonna take forever.
I
And they
wouldn't think
might
so.
it, I think like conceptually it makes a lot of sense, but I think like in practice, I think it's a lot more work than Nintendo might be willing to do. I think that's if I'm just hoping at this point we see continued, uh, you know, work down that classics path. Like
Right.
I think we're way more likely to see like a Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, stuff like that. I don't think we'll ever get to the GameCube. I think they're gonna go I think they're gonna go the path of remakes and remasters that far. And I think N64 is like right on the cusp there, where it's like, well, it's a little too old to want to do like a bunch of remakes, so maybe we should just try to put a bunch of that stuff on there. But I think porting all that would be.
I think they will stop at the Nintendo 64. Maybe go for the GBA and DS. But that's just me because Nintendo is infamous for not doing anything with the GameCube or the Wii.
Yeah.
Um, they like to pretend like the GameCube doesn't even exist half of the time. So it was even a surprise that the Super Mario Sunshine got ported to Switch.
Yeah, and it's going to be a really trippy thing to see when we see N64 games on there, but you know, it's all a matter of when and if.
Well, it's really upsetting because like we've got. I mean, there's definitely like there's people that are knocking it out of the park with these new modern N64 remakes. Just like look at the stuff that like Night Dive is doing, like with the Turoks and all those like old PC games that they're bringing back to life. It's just we just need another studio that Nintendo. The problem is Nintendo. Nintendo would never let anybody do stuff like that. So I think we'll maybe hopefully get to see like trickle in, but it's going to be from third party and it's going to be case by case. I don't think it's going to be any kind of big collection or any online porting.
Just assume if anybody wants it, Nintendo's not going to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So going forward,
start giving all our money to Night Dive.
Yeah. Going forward, because I want to get onto this potential stuff because we were talking about a lot of fan mods and stuff like that. I want to know what are some paths like if they were to not do nuts and bolts. So let's just go on the hypothetical here. What are some paths that Banjo can go down in terms of its IP? Like meaning like genre based. Like what are where could Banjo go in its paths? You know, you have like it could go down racing, it could go down, you know, all that kind of stuff. Like, and I guess this question kind of ties in with the second question, which is what kinds of possibilities that Banjo-Kazooie have in terms of its branching genre. So like if you were to look at something like if Banjo were to do another racing game like Banjo Pilot, but actually have it like, because they were talking there was another Banjo racing game in the
There was like 4.
Yeah, there was like some other Banjo racing games, like in terms of like its genre, like where could you guys see it go down? I mean, racing is a given. Like what other things could you see that would have a potential for Banjo other than its platforming?
So, so are we saying like an alternate universe where instead of nuts and bolts, this was another thing, or was this?
You could even do like like let's say nuts and bolts succeeded and that like it blew everyone's expectations and they loved it and they want to see more different stuff from Banjo in terms of it's like they took Banjo's IP and they're like, cool. Well, we made nuts and bolts. It's literally just a fucking Minecraft versus Banjo platformer. It's just pretty much just like
now we've got the Mario kind of
like imagine like that's why I'm saying like let's go down the hypothetical.
Let's what we can do. Like
that's why I said let's go down to the hypothetical and see that nuts and bolts actually did succeed. Where would you think, or even now, let's say Banjo comes back and does come back and make a good platforming game, and then everyone's like, I want more fucking Banjo and I want more Banjo of anything. You know what I mean? And then Rare's like, okay, we're gonna try this one more time, but I want to try a different genre with Banjo. Where do you think it could go? I mean, I'm seeing people say a Banjo RPG would be great, like a turn-based RPG.
I would personally pay a disgusting amount of money for a Banjo-Kazooie party game, like a Mario Party styled Banjo. I think it fits that format and that looks so well, especially with like you can still do a lot of holdovers from the 3D platforming. I mean, obviously, like a cornerstone of the series is bad quiz shows at the end. Like, and putting that into a Mario Party, take my money, please.
What about what I was gonna say? Go ahead.
I was talking about this with the Banjo Discord. We were thinking point and click adventure would be a fun one because Banjo-Kazooie is known for its dialogue. I mean, you would have to change the garbled voice to actual voice acting, because if you hear for 4 hours while playing the game, you're gonna go nuts.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Like a point and click, kind of like a Sam and Max style.
Yeah, Sam and Max
A
one.
lot of fun. I mean, and it shows it works. I mean, obviously not the port for that didn't do very well, but just like that format, I really do think that there is a potential for a resurgence in point and clicks right now. I mean, we're getting all these old ports of all these fantastic old LucasArts games. I guess maybe it's just those actually. Now
What
that I
about
think about it.
what about that point and click game that was I guess it was kind of point and click back in the day, and then they had a new one. What the fuck was it called? It was medieval style, and the only thing that I can think of, and some people might catch it in chat, at least I know one person might, but Game Grumps played it and they loved it, and it was Danny's favorite game, and it was a fucking what was the goddamn game called? And I can't remember what it was called, but it was a very old PC game, and then they brought it back on Steam, and I can't.
Monkey Island?
No, not Monkey Island.
So it was medieval.
It was medieval. I can't remember the title of it, but anyway, it was like a point and click game, and then eventually it was like a almost kind of like a point and click game that ended up becoming like you could still control the character. God,
Is
what
the one with
fuck?
the goat?
No,
Is that what you're talking about?
no, it's weird. It's one of those days where it's at the tip of my tongue. I can't fucking.
There's a King's
There's a lot
Quest?
of-
King's
There's a lot.
Quest. King's
Oh.
Quest. Because King's
Yeah.
Quest was a point and click game, and then the recent King's Quest game was where you could actually move around in the game, and you solved. It was like your character was the point and click, rather than actually having a point and click. Your Banjo and Kazooie were doing the pointing and the clicking, but you moved them around in a like asymmetrical,
Like
shot.
That's that's similar to the new version of the Sam and Max games.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah, I've never played any of the
Those
Sam
games.
and Max games, so
Yeah,
they're,
the
they're
original.
actually pretty fun.
Yeah, the
no.
original ones, they were just like straight, flat textured. You would have to point and click, move your guy around the screen, interact with everything, the whole pixel on nonsense. The new ones, you were moving around 3D environments, but it was still just with the cursor. It made it a lot easier. That's for damn sure, because you could actually see what you were supposed to interact with.
mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that's part of the problem. I just tried to play, not Maniac Mansion, but tried to play Day of the Tentacle like a month ago, and my God, for how much I remember loving that game is really difficult to play now.
Yeah, I just tried playing Monkey Island for the first time. And after I talked to the three, and I might just be a smooth brain, but after I talked to the three guys, the three important pirates, I'm like, okay, where do I go? I clicked everywhere in here. He says, "Oh, I best not bother him," and then
that's
I
it.
don't know where to go. I don't.
I really think that a lot of point and click, at least in my experience, the jumps in logic are just not there. I think they play much better when you're a child, because you don't necessarily need those like as an adult, you kind of need a trail to follow in a certain times. And like LucasArts, as much as they really knocked it out of the park with those games, like I played a lot of point and click games when I was younger, and they were pretty much the best ones. And even those nowadays, it's like I would never recommend one of those games to somebody who has never played them before.
So how would you
I
implement?
can't explain how to play it.
How would you implement Banjo Kazooie into a point and click?
With Banjo Kazooie,
how would you? I guess a better way to put this is how would you imagine a Banjo Kazooie point and click?
I would imagine it more like, so let's take into an idea of a reimagining of the first game, but as a point and click adventure. I think having somewhat similar objectives, like you can give Kazooie like a single move and then maybe an egg that's reusable or something like that, where some of the things will work, but you have to redo them in a certain way. So let's say you're in Mumbo's Mountain and there's all these tribal huts that you decimate because you're a settler or something.
Right.
So instead of destroying all of them, what about you were like going door to door, and a door opens up and you have to talk to the resident grublin or whatever in there.
Mm-hmm. I
And
can see
they'll
that.
give you like the notes or the extra life or the jiggy or the egg, or maybe in a turn of events you have to give them that stuff to eventually get the jiggy.
Right.
So there would be it'd be a toss up to give it each like thing a single like Banjo Kazooie like, because you'd love to hear Banjo and Kazooie's monologue on a bunch of crap like,
Mm-hmm.
what does Kazooie think of Royston, the goldfish that she constantly tries to eat,
Yeah.
or what does she visually think about Mumbo's deformed face?
The writing
That
potential is insane.
mentality, man,
Yeah,
is yeah.
they can definitely be their own Sam Max. And so with everything, like, okay, so it comes to the assumption, oh, this guy's hungry. Oh, you have a blue egg. Then some things have to come out clear. You can't have it be like where it's like, how a lot of video games for point and click adventure games, they have a jump in logic where it's like, oh, we need to knock out these guys. Oh, I have to grab this stick, knock over a bowling ball, and knock over the shelf that the bowling ball is going to land on onto a trampoline that's going to swerve onto an airplane and then crush the skull of whoever I want to knock out.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like,
Right. That's what I was alluding to. Like, you need that childlike sense of whimsy to be able to make those leaps in logic. Like,
oh,
trying to do those as an adult just doesn't work. You end up just staring at the bowling ball like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, that's the heaviest thing in
yeah,
this room. How do I get it on this guy's head?
it's literally click through the menu, select this item, keep clicking through everything. Not going to work, not going to work, not going to work. Then you go back into the menu, click on the next thing. Not going to work, not going to work. Oh, that might work, and then it works.
Yeah. I think being a collectathon, I think a point and click would work really well. I think if there was another genre, or even it's like for its IP, I really think, as somebody said before, actually a RPG. I think a turn-based RPG would be amazing because if you take getting the moves asset of Banjo Kazooie and learning new moves, I think a RPG could be a very, very useful genre that it can go down, because then
like a paper banjo,
like a paper banjo, or even something like
somebody said that earlier too.
Yeah,
I thought it was really stupid until you just said that, and then I'm like, oh no, that's genius.
Yeah, or even just like the Super Mario RPG look. You know what I mean? Like or a Mario and Luigi aspect too. Like, you think, or even not Pokemon, but I mean Pokemon's the same RPG, but Pokemon's like you collect Pokemon to
it's like a
certain
squad
thing.
RPG.
Yeah, squad RPG. But you look at something that has duo RPG, where it's just two characters, and you get abilities to do certain things outside of battle and inside of battle. You know what I mean? Like, and not only that, but you can introduce a new villain. I think it would be very refreshing for Banjo-Kazooie's series to have a new villain that isn't Grunty. Like, well, I had
Grunty be like a sideline almost. Like, she's just like I'm just sick of this.
I had an idea.
Grunty, I'd just make her either a side villain or your new ally.
Yeah, I had
that would be fantastic. Or just make just totally off doing her own thing, and you just like run into her, and she's like, oh yeah, I own a shop now.
I had an idea that just seemed right up like the Banjo humor, was that you get like this. I feel like would be perfect if it was a RPG. Was you had a new enemy for Banjo-Kazooie, which was a wizard, a male wizard that was really, really hot, exactly the opposite of Grunty. And Grunty wanted to be with this dark wizard, and she get denied every time. And she thinks that he's just an asshat and doesn't. And she's like, he's just gorgeous, but I want to go for him. But he still kind of has this she has this weird attraction to him, but she also gets shut down every time, and she's upset by that. And so she tries to help Banjo defeat this dark wizard, but it's just perfect because you could just have the humor is there. I don't have the humor, but I feel like it would just be perfect for it. Like, you just think about it and you're like, that just seems right up Banjo's alley. But you could have something that's similar to Grunty being a witch, but you have a wizard instead, or you could go down the route of where you take something from Banjo-Tooie and you take the Minjos and you have the Minjonator, because you have the Jinjonator from Kazooie. So it's like, there's the Minjos are a thing.
Having the Minjonator would be funny. I also think that it would be hilarious to have in perfect Kazooie fashion, have Gruntilda's other sisters come back from the dead, and now they're going after Gruntilda. So she has to try to like piggyback you to help her kill skeleton versions of the other two sisters.
Yeah,
that would be hilarious.
I'd like that too. I think that having a Banjo RPG could open up even more doors for Banjo-Kazooie's IP. Kind of like how Mario did with its IP, but unfortunately now they're just nulling that completely. So it's like, it's a very interesting thing to think about for what Banjo could do in terms of its like art, its genres.
So with RPG, just going back to that, because one of the games I was making over the last 4 or 5 months was a 3D platforming farm simulator roguelite. It sounds a little crazy, but like, have you guys ever played what's that farming game that was really popular? Stardew Valley.
I have not played it.
So
I don't know if you would like it.
I'm not big on resource.
Carefree.
Well, I'm not big on resource gathering games myself, but
so you know how there's a dungeon in Stardew Valley where you collect resources and stuff? So why not make a roguelite game where you collect it's like a collectathon, but you're collecting resources. So I mean they're all placed identical to how like music notes would have been placed and honeycombs would have been placed. So you go down in the roguelite dungeon or whatever, and then you expand Spiral Mountain into like a spiral village or something.
That kind of reminds me of like Moonlighter vibes a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit like Moonlighter, where you're just collecting all this stuff to restore buildings and make your town in Spiral Mountain, and then that unlocks new worlds in other parts of Spiral Mountain, similar to Grunty's Revenge, where you get more and more places, and then you get more different kinds of resources, different enemies and baddies, and
I think
it's still a collectathon. It's just
Biohazard.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of neat. I think like a Banjo like farming sim would be kind of cool, in a way.
I just like the idea of a roguelite 3D platformer, because all we get are roguelite 2D platformers or roguelite brawler kind of games. So I think a 3D platformer could be done.
I think so too. I can see that.
Yeah, it just has to be generated fairly or something.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned Stardew Valley, I immediately jumped to Viva Pinata vibes, and now I have this awful image in my head of just Banjo in like a farm outfit coming out of a little hut, and then like Viva Pinataing like a bunch of Jinjos like into corrals, and you have to get them to mate to do different colors.
I can see it.
Yeah, I wouldn't force Jinjos to breed my little Jinjo in camp. I'm not doing that. I'm not thinking that far ahead.
I can see a Banjo.
As long as you don't frame it like that, it's fine. If you just put like a big, like, instead of like a fence, you do like a mountain. It's fine.
I can
just gotta frame it.
I could totally see a Banjo cross with Viva Pinata, like a Banjo cross, like
you get like Banjo style pinatas.
No. I mean, like the two IPs crash and collide. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a Banjo.
They've done it a few times in Nuts and Bolts, where like Log turns Banjo, Kazooie, and Grunty into Viva Pinata items. There's even Viva Pinata. You get one of the missions is literally get Fergie from Viva Pinata to a Jinjo because it's his best friend or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have a question. So then the next question is, what companies do you guys think that could develop Banjo? Like, just like, I guess now that we've kind of just talked about like it's over like like branching genres. I mean, like banjo could literally go down anything, right? I mean, it's never ending. But I think like in the genres that we talked about, I think it'd be perfect for. But in terms of like just regularly Banjo Kazooie that isn't rare, what kind of companies do you think that would have a good potential of doing that? If they were to take Banjo Kazooie, okay, its current form of Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie, and I guess you could say Grunty's Revenge. What company do you think you can do it? I just saw someone say Retro Studios and Bungie. Bungie, I don't
Yeah.
think.
Retro
Bungie.
Studios, because that's a Nintendo.
That's like it's a joke.
There's no way that's. But realistically, Delilah Studios, because they already said they would love to work with other IP, other rare IP. I think Delilah Studios might become the next, like, you know how like 343 is the Halo company.
Mm-hmm.
I think Delilah Studios is going to become the old rare company or classic rare IP company, because after Battletoads, which was extremely successful to them and Microsoft.
Who did?
Yeah, I
I'm
was floored at how that game completely was such a 180, because I remember watching the release trailer and I was like, what have they done to you, my son? This is awful. And then I have never been more wrong. I played that game. It was hard to stop playing it when I started it. It was so much fun and added so much character to characters that I didn't realize had none until I played that game.
Yeah, and the thing is, they had Rare help them. It's not like Rare's going to be like, no, I'm not going to help him with my old IP.
Yeah, you guys are on your own.
Yeah.
It's another, like, it's nice to see, like, because I haven't played the new Battletoads, but it always looked really interesting. And I mean, I raged really hard at the original, so going into it, I'm going to be very afraid. But Delilah Studios, I could definitely see. And, you know, I saw someone say Platonic, and I'm gonna say this right now.
Not.
No,
you should stay away from this.
No, here's the thing.
With a 10-foot pole.
Here's the thing: is I think Platonic would do a great job because they would be in hand with Rare. That would mean that you would have literally the perfect team, the actual perfect team. Platonic and Rare fusing together to make a banjo game. But here's the thing: that would be the nail in the head for ukulele. And no one would do it. Granted, Platonic, easily, right, best option, but ukulele would be done. It would be done. Everyone would go.
I think it would be a shame, considering how hard and successfully they pivoted ukulele as a franchise, going from the original to Impossible Lair. Like, I think that was a master stroke of pivot there, and I think that they really pulled it off somehow, because I was super disappointed with ukulele personally. I thought it was a great tech demo. I just wish I hadn't paid, full price for it. And then Impossible Lair really, really blew it out.
See, with Impossible Lair, it's because almost everybody who worked on Impossible Lair and ukulele all were part of the DKC. Like, a lot of them worked on DKC 3. So, of course, it was in their zone. Well, like, I have mixed feelings about ukulele, because there's parts of it I liked, parts of it I heavily disliked.
Same.
But the thing is, with ukulele and Platonic, is if they worked on a Banjo-Kazooie game, they will no longer... What's going to happen, because they're so entangled in the Banjo fandom, they're going to be like, all the fans are going to be like, why are you working on the knockoffs when you finally have access to the real one?
Exactly. That's exactly what I would see too. And that's why I would put the nail.
Their degree of separation would no longer exist.
You'd put the nail in the coffin.
I think it would be a detriment to everybody involved on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think all that hard work would just go down the drain for ukulele, because
that IP has a ton of potential. Personally, I mean, like, ukulele, like the original ukulele, has potential to be like a really good collectathon game if they were to just get the level.
Of a good game.
If they were to just size the levels, that's my only complaint about ukuleles. If they were to just size the levels differently, if they were to just size the levels differently and added less, like, just every level felt bloated. If they were to just take the levels and stretch them out in terms of it making them smaller and less things in them and more levels, it would have been way better. It would have been just they went with Tui. Like as much like I love Tui, right? Like I love it's like my favorite banjo game, but they did it. They just took Tui and 64, Banjo Donkey Kong 64, and
Blew it up.
and blew it up. And it didn't need to do that. You needed to do. It was trying to be Banjo 3 when it should have just been Banjo Kazooie with a new IP and new worlds and new abilities and new IP and new characters. Yeah, exactly, like a reskin. And that's exactly what they wanted to do, but they did it wrong.
See, the one thing that, because I've read a few interviews, even as recent as 2020, no one on that Platonic team has played Banjo Kazooie or Banjo Tooie since they were released, and I think that was the number one nail in the coffin because they're going off of feelings of nostalgia rather than, hey, let's replay the game, let's write down what worked, what didn't work, what did I find fun in here. They did not break apart Greg Mail's level design.
Yeah, and he's not part of Platonic.
Yeah,
he's
and it was pretty apparent.
Yeah.
It was like,
Gavin Price, the guy who designed all the levels and stuff for Ukulele, he was the guy who designed all the levels for Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. He wasn't even like the last time he was on a Banjo project was he Q&A'd for Banjo-Tooie, and so he yes, he worked on a Banjo IP before. He worked on it in a way that was one of the biggest criticisms of Nuts and Bolts outside of character design.
Right.
And then seemed to proceed to not learn from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't blame him too harshly for them not they overthought of everything for Ukulele. I just think that if they gave themselves a refresher before really designing everything, it would have worked. Because everybody says, "Oh yeah, the original team of Banjo-Kazooie are at Platonic. It's 6 people," and I think this is for a lot of people seem to forget. All these same people also designed most of the stuff for Nuts and Bolts. And then you guys these people talk and beg the original creators of Banjo-Kazooie and go, "Oh yeah, I love Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, make a Banjo 3, Nuts and Bolts was hot garbage." And
I'm like, thanks, dicks.
I'm like, so what? You go to your parents and go, "Oh, I loved all these Christmas gifts, but please, this Christmas gift I got, this doll, it's not the one I wanted."
Yeah, I wanted this other doll.
Yeah.
Or I wanted the action figure.
Could we just forget that one existed and just do it again, but better?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mom, can you pretend I didn't just spit in your food before I gave it to you?
Also, a little enthusiasm, please.
So so before we move on, other than Talala and Retro or Platonic, what other company do you think would do well?
So I hate Tim Schafer with a dark, brooding passion, but I think Double Fine would be a fantastic studio.
Well, they just actually denied that.
Killed that. Yeah, they killed that one.
Which is upsetting because I was really excited about that. That just the prospect of there, because I think that the Psychonauts, the team of writers in that, they get pretty damn close to a lot of that kind of banjo-y humor. Like that's a team that I would be okay with writing anything, honestly.
Yeah, I think, and this is really bad to say as a Fax account who boasts about positivity in the banjo fandom, but that is my favorite thing is to kill leaks. I love killing them.
Yeah,
that is I want to snip them right at the bud, because they're, you know what's going to happen. Well, everybody's all sad and depressed right now. I'd rather they be sad and depressed now than build it up for 4 months when E3 comes around again.
Yeah,
and they're like, "No, please."
Yeah,
it's
cutting expectations. It's like, because you as an account like that, you want to talk about those leaks, but at the same time you're gonna be like, well, you got to understand it's a leak, and then boom, gone, leak done, it's dead.
That was the one thing I did when Game Awards happened. I warned everybody, hey, do not trust 4chan leaks. 99% of them are wrong. And like I posted the one with, oh, they're gonna announce Rayman, and then they're gonna have Phil Spencer come up onto the stage. And first of all, the one thing you can tell about a leak that is fake is everybody's social distancing. They're not gonna have Phil Spencer up on stage for a virtual event.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll bring him up on stage at his home, through a webcam.
Yeah, exactly.
How are they going to
set up a green screen and they'll take away his limbs and then he'll do the Rayman reveal?
And then they're going to be like, oh, he's going to transcribe. They already transcribed everything he's going to say. No, most of these things are ad-libbed. If it wasn't ad-libbed, then we wouldn't have seen the who's the No Man's Sky guy freaking drink alcohol when they accidentally, because he didn't think he was going to win ongoing game of the year.
Right.
So he was sitting there drinking his beer when the camera zoomed in on him, congratulating him.
So I want to now segue into our last topic, and this is where we're gonna have to put on our tinfoil hats. Is exactly where and what you guys think of evidence of a new Banjo-Kazooie being in existence currently. There's always speculation, and this is where we're getting into the very nougat of the Snicker bar of Banjo-Kazooie. It's looming.
I hope you're in the mood for a dirty, rotten nougat.
It's looming, right? It's looming. This is where I'm at. I'm like the potential is looming. You know what I mean? So we've talked about all the things so far, as in the Wii U being the actual having that virtual console, and then getting the the Grunty Lands thing, which was obviously gone. And we were just talking about leaks and how they can get nipped in the bud. But there are certain things that just almost seem too good to be true in terms of evidence. And so when I example number one specifically is when even Okiland and I were on Twitter, probably 2 months ago, just Greg Mails, man, went off on Twitter.
Oh yeah, he finally dropped a huge load onto everybody. Oh, that phrasing, but he gave out all this information about Banjo-Kazooie, its development, and Banjo 3, and he basically told everybody, "Hey, fuck off."
Yeah, he told everyone to fuck off, but he also dropped in too many hints in terms of what could potentially be going on. Specifically one saying he's working on an idea that was
perspective I've been talking about.
Wait, what?
I got a very forward statement of please stop bothering us.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. He definitely was saying that too.
Definitely he's he goes because he's always beating around the bush about Banjo 3. But he literally just said, Banjo 3 was a joke I based off of a previous Rare game, Snake Rattle and Roll, with a ridiculous name for a game that will never come out. You know, that's what he said. And when Mike called it a hint, I was like, oh, that's probably something Greg Miles is he would start pulsating.
He's out somewhere and he's like, why am I so goddamn mad right now?
Yeah.
He just starts throwing stuff.
He's like,
why don't people understand me?
Yeah.
It's everything again. I just coughed.
Banjo 3?
I sense a disturbance. It's to me, I don't know, when I see that, it's I saw the potential in terms of what he was kind of saying. I like to read between the lines a lot. And so no, I know he's straightforward like that though. But the thing is it's I'm not taking what Greg was talking about in terms of full on evidence, but it was kind of okay, he's at that point where it's I'm willing to just say anything for you guys to shut the fuck up. And he said I'm working on an idea that was 10 plus years ago in a banjo conversation.
It
So,
was
but that's at least what I think.
yeah. Him and Mike Chapman said they're working on ideas from 10 years ago. It wasn't exactly in a Banjo Kazooie conversation. Banjo Kazooie was popped up a few times because they were talking about Everwild and
Right.
whenever Rare's going to hop off a Sea of Thieves after
Mm-hmm.
not hopping off of it for nearly half a decade.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of, I don't want to be the guy who's like anti Sea of Thieves because I think it's a genuinely good game. I just think Rare way too much time cooking on that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
because now it's broken up with Everwild and Battletoads, and the Holy Light is shown again. But like when it was Sea of Thieves was like the Connect Sports era where it was only that and nothing else, and it was just getting it was too much for the most part. It was just let me see if I have my I'm just bringing out my sources. Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna I have a source list of all these points I'm gonna bring up.
For evidence, right.
I sent them all to Mike.
I actually have them. I think I have them right here. Actually, I think because you were saying like I think because we said it in a in the Discord too. But it was I have also the sources for each one. But I have a list of I have a list from something that we had back in October.
Yeah, you have a Photoshop or not Photoshop, but a screenshot of
and so one of them being that the creator of the fan gamer plush for Banjo-Kazooie, like the plush that just was released not too long ago. They're bringing more plushies in.
They're bringing more Banjo stuff in.
Right. And so they're right now in terms of like Banjo-Kazooie and like what it like could bring, it's mostly merch right now. But the fact that they're bringing in a lot of merch and it's being bought in crazy amounts of volume, that it's almost too. This is why I think that it's actually possible that there is a Banjo-Kazooie like on the threads of coming out with one, because they're bringing out a lot of merchandise way more than before or ever, and there's no games. So it's like, why are they bringing out all this merchandise and not bringing something? So it's like, because what? I think we were talking about
capitalism is a dirty mistress. That's why.
We were talking about it that Versiris, right? We have her who is one of the who actually was the one that designed the plushies, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, she designed the Banjo-Kazooie one. This is in response to a conversation. I'm like, because a while back she goes, "Oh yeah, there's more surprises to come," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then that was after the Banjo-Kazooie plush. So then fast forward a few months later, here's the Jinjo plushes, and I go, "Hey, is this the plush you hinted at?" And she's like, "Nah, it's something else. Something else is coming."
Right. And so my assumption is like Mumbo, Grunty, Bottles, and more characters like that too. So it's to bring that stuff in, and it ties back into the First for Figurines stuff, because the First for Figurines statue, because now they're making Mumbo and then they're making Grunty, which I think is going to tie into the plushies too.
$300 on a Grunty.
430 is the
Yeah.
Banjo one.
I won't
So
spend that much.
to buy all three, it would be roughly $1,200.
Yeah. If the Mumbo and the Grunty one are going to be in the same quality as
Yeah,
Banjo,
the same prices.
The Grunty one's going to be huch.
It's gonna. I'm 100% sure it's gonna be on her broomstick.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah.
Mumbo's
Almost on a giant throne.
Yeah. Well, no, didn't they actually release the
Yeah,
the beta?
he's sitting on his throne.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, but it's the Banjo Tooie model, right?
Yeah, and so it's not
gross
Smash
eaters, damn it.
design is what's really interesting.
What's that? I didn't catch that. Say
it's not the Smash redesign, which is really interesting. And a lot of people don't seem to understand this, but Rare is the one who redesigned Banjo-Kazooie and all the characters for Smash Brothers. That was Rare's Paul Cunningham who did that.
Right.
To use a new Mumbo, maybe they're just using the Mumbo that's most well known. Who knows? They could be doing that. But the thing is with the Totaku minifigure,
Mm-hmm.
that showed off a brand new redesign of Banjo as well, where Banjo was kind of beefed up quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see that well enough, but he's there.
So,
He's pretty chunky in terms of muscle.
They definitely redesigned Banjo, and I don't know if he's still going through several redesigns from Smash Brothers, or maybe that was their first iteration before the Smash Brothers one. But
Yeah,
there
I
is
mean,
definitely
go ahead.
multiple sets of Banjos being redesigned right now.
Yeah, and so that's another reason why I think that that is a big possibility of why would you be remaking these models for just merchandise, you know, like especially like
Company Disney, right?
yes, but that's a Disney.
Right. So
That's a
it's
total
just-
different. I'm gonna disagree. That's a whole different ballpark.
it is and it isn't. What it is making a lot of money off of nostalgia, and it's just
Well,
it's a market there
merchandise.
before. Right, but how many other games, like I just bought an Earthbound jacket, a couple years ago. I am not under any assumptions that why are they still making Earthbound stuff? They're not going
because
to make
they
any
know-
more Earthbound games.
They know that Mother Earth 3 people are going to beg for the end of the time.
Yep.
Exactly.
With Banjo Kazooie, I think the thing right now is this is something. Let me see, because I remember who it was. It was Peter Heinz. Let me see if I can find. So basically, DK Vine was talking about who it was that.
Isn't Pete Hines part of Bethesda?
No, not Pete Hines. Peter H.E. Hentez.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it basically he and Paul. I forgot what his name is. True Polsky. True is. I can remember their Twitter handles. Oh, Paul Collins.
Oh, yeah, because that guy was the guy that.
Yeah, so Paul Collins is he's the Rare and Xbox lead designer. He was the guy who helped work on Battletoads. And then they have Peter Heinz, who actually did the character design for a lot of Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts and stuff.
Right, I remember them saying that they were when they brought that in that they actually talked about like right after Banjo was released for Smash that he came forward. He's like, yeah, I actually was the one that designed this.
No, that's Paul Cunningham.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Man, I hate looking up.
It can be frustrating. Didn't also Craig Duncan also accidentally followed you too on your Fox account?
So Craig Duncan, I don't know if it's because I'm now considered a Banjo-Kazooie influencer or something, but Studio Head of Rare started following my personal account, but he also followed the Facts About BK account. I don't know if it was accidentally or not, but he followed the Facts About BK account first and then followed so it means he looked at my profile and everything, saw that it was, account ran by Okiland, started following me. Then he unfollowed the Facts About BK account. I have no idea what that was. That was just something weird. But Studio Head of Rare following me was kind of cool. Surprised he hasn't unfollowed me. But
So he's still following your personal account?
Yeah, he's still following the personal account. If I can find him.
That's really trippy. There's got to be a reason for that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of tinfoil hat shit that I have in my brain. You know, there's got to be a reason. There's got to be. Like I said, it's like that. It's like that GIF of Charlie from It's Always Sunny. He's just like, there's something here. You know, it's
in the mailroom.
Mm-hmm. There's just it's just there, right? It's just there.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that, it's just really weird to have because I'm not really I guess I could consider myself somewhat of an influencer because I run the subreddit. I run one of the bigger non-Smash related banjo discords, and I run the facts account now.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm sort of in that thing. But like, I look at all these other Banjo Kazooie like big accounts, like Bring Back Banjo and some other people. I don't remember all of them, but
There's a ton.
yeah, there's a ton of them. But none of the rare people follow any of these guys. And I mean, I guess it makes sense if you have a username like Bring Back Banjo. There's no way somebody's going to follow you because then they'll be like, "Oh, that's speculating." We're speculating on a guy. We're speculating on a guy right now for following a fax account, a Banjo Kazooie fax account.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's like chopped liver compared to the chicken gizzard of following a Bring Back Banjo account.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
It's a factual thing, and then not actually, so that way he could be like, "Yep, this is real," and then he could retweet it. But
he's gonna watch this and he's gonna unfollow now.
yeah, he's gonna be watching this later and be like, "These guys are fucking idiots. They know nothing."
Why am I trending? Like, why am I getting popped up on Twitter again? Oh shit!
If I was
a lot drunker than I thought.
Listen,
I went and snooped on that guy.
If my first episode of my first ever podcast goes up and starts trending on Twitter, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind, and then I'm gonna be like, "Ah!" But that's a whole different.
Yeah, that's talk about pressure. Now we actually got to produce stuff.
Yeah.
So
they did that to themselves. If they added Banjo into Smash, they did that to themselves.
Yeah, for sure. They had to have known what they were gonna do when they made that call.
They also had to have known what was gonna come.
Realize our Twitter accounts are gonna be fucked for the next umpteenth years.
Yeah, this is the reason why I think because they brought Banjo in, it's not gonna be enough for everybody. It's not gonna be enough.
No. I think it's like a boil. It was enough to get rid of half of the pus, but now they got the
now they got a really lance.
Now they got the cancerous part.
Yep, they have to.
And I think that's one thing that I truly believe is the reason why Banjo Kazooie has not come back is they're looking for a company that can stand on its own if they fuck up.
Yeah,
right.
Because Banjo Kazooie fandom is a fickle beast of a creature.
It's such a strong fickle beast too. So you have to think about the every time Banjo just at the since this is live right now and at the moment of this recording, as well as being live, Banjo trended on Twitter 3 times in a week, but it wasn't necessarily because of anything that was speculative. It was all because of the love for Banjo and discussing about Banjo being in Smash.
Yeah, it was. One was, I think, Smash Brothers. I can't remember what the second one was. The third one was because of the Wii U leak.
Yep, the third one was the Wii U leak, and so I guess that was the one that was speculative. But I think the second time Banjo trended I still think it was just a continuation of it. It was someone posted something on Twitter saying what was out of all of the Smash DLC, what was the one that stood out to you the most or something, or what was the one that deserved it the most? And Banjo-Kazooie was the one that was at the top every single time. And so it was there is an overwhelmingly loud voice for such a small amount of games for an IP like this. And so, how you said, they're probably just waiting for a company, or they might even have a company, or they might even make a new company altogether, like the Initiative for Perfect Dark. So it could very well be that, where if for some reason this Banjo game that they tend to make eventually in the life, I'm the kind of person, which I want to say this right now, a Banjo game is coming. It's just gonna come. I'm going to say that right now. A Banjo game is coming, whether that's next year, 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or even 40 years from now. A Banjo game is coming. It's just a matter of when. And
hot take, my personal opinion, I think we're going to be talking about this when we're very old.
Yeah, probably.
Still.
Probably. But we'll probably, I still think that it is actually going to come. It's just a matter of when. And that being said, it all depends on what company is going to do it, and they could technically just make a new one like the Initiative. So that way, if let's say Perfect Dark, the new Perfect Dark that comes out and it doesn't do well, they could just axe the studio and no harm, no foul.
Well, except for the studio that gets axed.
Doesn't matter. They get their jobs
for
over.
having
They can get their
having the audacity of wanting to remake Perfect Dark.
No, it wasn't that these people did it. It was Rare going out to scout new talent, and with
Right.
Microsoft to make a new company for said IP. It's the same thing
Specifically.
specifically. So if that company were to get axed because the company didn't do well, which I don't think that would be the
then
case,
They would just get you're
they
right.
would just get rehired into Rare or Microsoft or other things that are owned under Microsoft, which is a fuck ton of companies now. So it's not like their job is gone forever. It's
I think
yeah.
with a company that would make a Banjo-Kazooie game, they would make just enough money that I think they would be staying afloat for a while. Because I think with how Xbox does it now, it's PC and Xbox, so they have a large margin, and then they have Game Pass as well, where people will basically do that. They'll send it onto Steam, so Banjo is reaching a bigger audience. I mean, I still believe that a lot of the audience is still on the Nintendo market. Well, I'm unhappy with the current affairs of Banjo-Kazooie and their Nintendo fan base. I think it would not be. I mean, it could make them a lot of money if they were to release it on a Nintendo console. While thinking that, I think I think the Nintendo part of the fan base is probably one of the worst parts of the Banjo-Kazooie fan.
I think so too. I think that because being a part of Banjo and being part of Nintendo, people are gonna be like, well, if it's not Banjo unless it's on Nintendo. I'm like, that's just not true.
Like there are people that people that I've talked to that I can guarantee you would not buy a Banjo game that wasn't on a Nintendo console.
I'm the kind of person that would buy a console specifically to play Banjo on. That's the only reason why I got a 360, because I saw the trailer for that. Well, I didn't get the 360. It's my brother who got it. But point is when we did get
that was the push.
That was the very big push. Was like, oh shit, okay,
yeah,
there's a Banjo game coming.
And people do not realize that. They do not realize that. Hey, Microsoft needs to make money, and Microsoft can only make money if they're developing it for their home consoles and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, like they can make money, like some money from producing it on the Nintendo Switch, but Nintendo Switch cartridges probably exceed the amount that they really want to like make money off.
They would probably lose ass over fist just in the licensing to a Nintendo console.
Yeah, because the Switch, a lot of people don't want to know this, but Switch cartridges are the one thing that's really hemorrhaging the Nintendo Switch right now. It happened with the GameCube. It happened with the Super Nintendo. They do not, like, here's the thing. You know why PlayStation 2 basically kicked everybody's ass during the early era? It's because it was a multimedia console. Mm-hmm. It can do DVDs. Nintendo caught whiff of that extremely late. They because they released that Panasonic GameCube that can play DVDs, but they released it so late. It was no point because the GameCube was already a market failure.
Right.
Xbox failed to PlayStation 2. Same thing. It couldn't play DVDs.
Or even just look at like the PlayStation 3. Like that was just they hemorrhaged so much money to push that Blu-ray player, and they made out like bandits in the end.
Yeah, even though it was a rough start. But
that's what I mean. Like they lost hand over fist for a long time, but in the end, they ended up making way more.
See, and I think Xbox is in a better place than it was in 2013 because they have a new guy. They have Phil Spencer now versus Don Matrick. Just kind of an ass. Because Don Matrick was the one who came up with the idea that games aren't replayable. You have to games are only
beat them once and done.
Yeah, they're replayable, but you can't give them to your friends. The disc is linked to your console forever.
Right.
Yeah.
He was also the one who came up with the idea that let's make the Xbox an entertainment system instead of just a sole game console. Because
I actually didn't know that. I didn't know
Yeah,
that he was behind that. I knew that when I heard about all that Xbox One bullshit at the very beginning, and like, yo, you need to have the Kinect. You need to. This is like you can once you buy the game, you're done. It's like connected to your console, and that's it. And I didn't know it was actually that dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and that's why he got fired, was because he lost Xbox so much money. They fired him in like 2015, and then with Phil Spencer, you can see how everything's improving. Xbox literally owns Bethesda now,
Yeah.
and that's
Right.
all things.
This Game Pass thing is really blowing me out of the water. How they are
How
just coming at
it's
that so hard.
And
And
it's
at first I
that's
thought it was a really odd idea, and now it's like now they're really starting to overtake. Like I was just talking to you about this, Mikey. Like if you buy an Xbox Series X, by the way, whoever at Xbox is in charge of naming these things needs to be shot. Um, but so say if I buy a PlayStation 5 right now, I'm gonna buy the $500 version. Now I gotta spend another. I'm gonna assume I get the $60 online package. So now I get whatever the 12 games that come with that. If I buy uh, an Xbox Series X, same price, give or take. You spend the 40, $50 for a year of Xbox Live that comes with Game Pass, and I have infinite. I've got like 400 games now, right out of the box, and then AAA titles coming out that are now free, essentially.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like it's crazy to me that they can, like, how much money they must be making off of that subscription model to be able to fund AAA titles. Like what really sent it over the edge for me was when Outer Wilds released on Game Pass. I was like, oh, this is a real thing now. Like they've managed to do it.
Which is why I think you could get way more people into a Banjo game if they were to make a new one and use that platform. Because then that would just open up a whole new audience that are afraid to try a new Banjo game. Like you have the rare replays on there, right?
Yeah,
Rare replays on there.
Yeah, so then you can get the people who played the original, but I mean, you could do the remakes and put them on there, and
Right.
then you could do a remake of a Banjo game, which I
Like, it's
still
obvious,
think is
like-
ideal. And then
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is Banjo Kazooie is going to get remade, and maybe Banjo Tooie, and then it'd be end. It's the end. I don't think there'll be another game after.
it would depend on how well that the game did. Like, I don't think we'll see another Spyro. Like, I don't think we're going to see another like a new Spyro game. I want to say I'll see it. I almost see it going. I almost see it going down the same way as Crash, where they did that the trilogy did really well, which I think it's so bizarre to me that people think that Crash 4 didn't do well, because it did do well.
Yeah, it did well. It just didn't do as good as its successor.
Right. It's
they
because
they expected it to outsell the Insane Trilogy.
I am going to go based on the pandemic for that one, because it released in October. That the reason why it didn't do as well.
Oh, why? Because people couldn't afford to buy it right then?
That, and also people couldn't go out and buy it. You know what I mean? Like, physically. There's a lot of big audiences of people going out and buying games physically.
I still don't understand why people hold on to the idea of physical copies. That's such a strange.
I like physical copies because I like touching.
I like physical copies. Only reason being is because if I were to go get a game and I don't like it, I can then be like, okay, I spent $60 to buy the game, but I'm still getting my money back in some form to then return, like to take it to a like local video game store or GameStop and put it towards something else and be like, okay, listen, I'm building up credit. I got rid of the game. I played it. I didn't enjoy it, but I have something coming from it still. And when I buy a digital version of the game, I can like most online retailers will only give you like 12 in-game hours and a 7 days to try it. And some days I don't. And some games I buy and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get to it. And I never do, or I won't get to it till a long time. And the 7 days is gone. If I were to buy it online, because then I'm just like, well, fuck. Now I'm stuck with this game that I spent $60 on, and I just don't like it. And I can't give it away because it's stuck to my console. So, like, I like digital games, but having Game Pass would be beautiful for things like that. And Crash 4, not on the Game Pass, not on PlayStation Now. It's physical. It was only like you have it physical and digital, so you're going to get people that aren't sure about it. Granted, you
Activision
had a
thing, right? It's got to be an Activision. anything.
No, I don't think so. I think that's just like I said, I think it's definitely just based on pandemic. But you have
No, why it's not on Game Pass?
Oh, well, no. Game Pass
Yeah.
is usually generally most of the time going to be like I know you got like
It could
random
be Xbox.
it's generally
Game.
just Xbox games, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
and EA and Ubisoft now, because those are going to be, they're not purchased by Microsoft, but they have a deal with Microsoft.
right,
now.
exactly. So
Right.
you're not going to get things like that, but if anything you'd get it on PlayStation first. And PlayStation Now isn't nearly as good as Xbox Game
No,
Pass.
it's nowhere near as
They're
robust.
starting to get that way, but PlayStation Now is not. But point being is that you're going to have that's why I think Crash 4 actually did really well, but people just aren't really like they're like, well, if Banjo and Kazooie were to make a new game or a remake and then make a new game afterwards, it would just not do as well like Crash 4. I don't think so, because Crash 4 did do well, and part of the reason why it didn't do as well as it should have was because of the circumstances of 2020. You know what I mean? So it's a double-edged sword. So
We probably should go back to the the leak
yeah, the evidence, you
information.
know what I mean? Yeah, evidence. Yeah, we're getting way off topic.
for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I know, yeah.
we've got
And I'm gonna have to start wrapping up at least within the
yeah,
hour.
I want to get some touching on some bases here before we actually do end this. But since going back on the companies and stuff like that for evidence of it, you know, you have what we were talking about with Greg, you know what I mean? Greg Males was talking about all this stuff. The huge like the 10 like the 10-year idea that he was talking about, it almost seems like it's going and hand in hand with working on older IP, like what Craig Duncan said. And that's why you're getting
Yeah.
stuff like The Initiative with Perfect Dark, you know, like
And
go ahead.
like there's a lot of things that we're currently seeing, like, you know, Battletoads, it leaked a year prior to its announcement. What was it, 2019, 2018? It leaked prior to that, but it also leaked alongside a Banjo 20A, which nothing ever came of it.
Right, the 20 anniversary thing, which was 20 anniversary was what?
2018.
2018,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, but like, we didn't know if it was 20th anniversary. It was just Banjo
Right, 20.
20 hashtag A, you know, and that could be Banjo 2020 side A, where it's Banjo Kazooie. Maybe side B is Banjo Tooie. You know, it's so there is something either that was planned or is no longer existing.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, and that's kind of why I think that what was Greg was talking about is it's like, since they're in that thing, he always refused if there's anybody making, you know, if there's a company that's making a Banjo game. He doesn't want to say there. He doesn't want to say no, but he also doesn't want to say there is.
Yeah, he said his exact words were, when asked, he goes, "Greg, what do you think of Microsoft's newest acquisition of Bethesda?" And he goes, and then the guy goes, and do you think any of these companies would be great for a Banjo-Kazooie game? And he goes, A, I think it's a great thing, and B, I'm not going to answer that.
I think we
Yeah,
actually
go to
have that,
hell.
right? I think do we have that?
Yeah, I think we have it on our giant list.
I think I might have.
I love how
accidentally.
ravenous, you know, gamers can be for a thing, but it's unfortunate how much, like, the extent that we're willing to go to just berate these poor people about this kind of stuff, where it's like having, like, not being able to answer a question without having like it's a very like political way of doing it, where it's like, oh, we'll give you this thing, I'll answer your question, but I'm gonna also slip this little thing on the back end to make you look like a prick for answering my question.
Yeah, it's a non-answer.
I don't like
which
how
is
Discord did this. He said, I think the big new buy is great, and yes, I'm not answering that last one. But I can't actually like get the link up for some reason. Discord actually just like threw the
just scroll upwards to find the actual like URL instead of
Oh,
the
I see. I got you.
instead of the post.
Right, here we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Unfortunately, I was going through a bout where I was deleting deleting all like comments, so you'll see a few removed ones from me.
Here we go.
I think I am in that conversation, but I can't.
So I'm gonna see if I can move this a bit. So let me.
I can't take it anymore. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of like right here when somebody says, "What do you think of Microsoft's big new buy? You think another studio might have a crack at Banjo?" Yeah, I know I probably can't answer that last one. Right. He's not saying no. There's no one answering it, but he's also saying. I literally cannot say yes or no. So it's like, that's the kind of shit that I look at and I'm just like, oh, okay. So it's pretty insane to see that kind of response from Greg, who is literally in hands of Banjo.
Yeah. For anybody who's uninitiated, Greg Mayles is pretty much the lifeblood of Banjo-Kazooie. He was the level designer. He also wrote all the dialogue. He's the one who designed, well, he didn't program the game. He's the one who designed all the documents for the game. He came up with a general idea of enemies and characters, but he wasn't like, he's not the guy who designed characters. And
yeah, he was pretty much the world designer, and pretty much he was like, I guess you could say he was the ringmaster if you were to compare it to a carnival. He's the ringmaster of pretty much Banjo-Kazooie. And like, granted, his brother was the one that designed Banjo-Kazooie and like ended up creating what Banjo-Kazooie looks like today. You know,
yeah.
But Greg was the one that actually like, you know, helmed Banjo and where Banjo went pretty much.
And while I love Steve Mayles and Grant Kirkhope, the fandom gives them way too much focus.
Yeah.
There's Greg Mayle Grant Kirkhope goes, oh, Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts. I think should have not ever been a Banjo game. And so all these guys are like, that's what I've been saying. Yeah.
But he's just the composer.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like
he's in the room, but
so like, have you guys ever read like what Rare was like under the Stamper Brothers? It was secretive.
Mm-hmm.
It was nobody can talk to each other. None of the barns could talk to each other. Nobody at Rare could talk to each other because they wanted all of them to compete internally because it pushes the best they can if they're all competing with each other.
Didn't Steve not even know that Grunty's Revenge was even being made?
No, he didn't know. He knew Grunty's Revenge was being made. He just never seen any of the character designs or renders. He said he'd never see those ever again. But that just shows how there was no communication. And Grant Kirkhope had a way different experience than everybody else. Nobody realizes, but Grant Kirkhope literally was the guy. He was free to move because he was moving.
Because he has to move between all the projects.
Yeah, he was like one of the main composers. So yeah, he had a different experience. He thought Rare was like, he'll go, oh, Microsoft ruined Rare. Microsoft really didn't do that much to Rare.
No.
The only difference in Rare, okay, so Microsoft did push Rare to focus less on their rated M titles like Killer Instinct and stuff because they wanted to reach the kid-friendly audience because they wanted all the Nintendo people to come over, which unfortunately backfired in the long term because Cameo, nobody wanted to play as a fairy princess.
Which is upsetting because that actually is a pretty damn good game.
Yeah, a lot of their games are. They just, all these games, people are like, Rare is not what it used to be like it was in the 90s. But here's the thing, Rare was making all these games. All these popular titles that Rare was made at the early Xbox were all planned for Perfect Dark Zero. Actually probably improved when on the Xbox because one, they got rid of the anime aesthetic that looked, and it was that Western anime, like, those how to draw anime books.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
the characters look like.
Yeah.
Much as I respect Will Overton, those were awful.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not good. Not good.
There was Viva Pinata. Viva Pinata, actually, I learned this one recently. Viva Pinata had a GameCube prototype. Grabbed by the
Really?
Goonies. Yeah. Let me find. It's from.
It's kind of boggling to me, and almost really cool to see like these kind of like hidden messages and stuff like that, just to see. But like,
Yeah, Mario went through development hell since Nintendo 64. Like, let's see if I'll just post it in the chat for you because
okay.
That's the picture of
I
the
see.
GameCube.
Okay.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it was.
I really love that cutesy pinata aesthetic. It just gets me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like they had a bunch of these IPs that they already were working on and had ideas for, but they flourished even better on Microsoft.
Most of their Xbox market, all the Xbox games were all originally intended for Nintendo consoles. And all these people are like, ew, it's ugly, it's bad, it's stupid. You would have gotten the same exact thing if they were with Nintendo. So, and I know 100% that all these people were like, oh, Rare is a former like thing of itself, are just doing it because out of spite for Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
Like when
they want a bad guy to point at, and Microsoft is the bad guy.
Yeah, nobody wants to blame Rare for being,
Right.
And no one wants to blame Nintendo. It's just they have no one to point at but Microsoft, and that's why.
And that's the problem, is because Rare was secret. Like there was secrecy at Rare for the longest time. They wouldn't go out public with all these. Like nobody knew about the Nuts and Bolts 2 prototype, and that was in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah, which is very recent. That actually got discovered, though, right?
Yeah, it was recently rediscovered. It was probably like a guy leaked it in 2011, but like with screenshots and stuff, but nobody really cared because that was at that turning point where like everybody started hating Nuts and Bolts because JonTron's content started getting popular.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was slightly before JonTron, but it was at that point where nobody was paying attention to Nuts and Bolts.
Right. Well, I think, with the whole, like evidence of new Banjo, it's still strung out, and like it's still, nitpicking and like where we're gonna see and what we're gonna look for. But I think in terms of 2021, this is just my outlook, and I say this just about every year, but I think this year more than any year as of recent has more of a potential than anything, because you have 2 years, right? Just about almost 2 years. This is going to be the 2-year mark of Banjo being in Smash, right?
Yep.
So that is enough time to see the development, or seeing the process of Banjo being in Smash. You're going to see the overwhelming, how should I say this? Seeing the reception of Banjo being in Smash, and seeing how it just exploded afterwards. That is enough time for Rare or a company to be like, okay, we can create a teaser from this and say, hey, this is coming. You know what I mean? And
I've gotten my fair share of fights over this kind of conversation.
Yeah, it's kind of insane, but like it's not that I'm like I'm saying it's gonna happen. I am expecting it, and I'm not going to be sad if it doesn't, because that just makes 2022 even more likely. And that's why I think that this year and next year are a little bit. I'm way more optimistic than I ever have been with Banjo-Kazooie because of Smash in itself.
Smash.
Yeah.
I'm still in the camp that I personally think it's highly unlikely, but I would give the caveat that if it doesn't happen in the next, so we say we're 2 years away from Smash Brothers, if it doesn't happen within 5 years of the Smash reveal, I don't think it ever will.
And I think with Banjo-Kazooie, Yeah, that's I'm in the same boat as that. I think Banjo-Kazooie, there is a 5-year thing. We're currently in the remake reboot renaissance
Mm-hmm.
of games. That's the new trend. Banjo-Kazooie being in Smash Brothers started a wave, and I think Rare is just, it's weird for Rare to sit down and say, "Hey, we have all this momentum. Let's just use it for merch,"
Mm-hmm.
you know? And and
Right.
while so if they're using it solely for merchandise, I mean they're a company, so I get it, but like
Yeah.
that's just something else.
That's why I
Uh,
Well,
think it's
I think it might
weird.
be just taking advantage of a situation because it's like Banjo was always another one of those series where they never really had a merch boom to begin with.
Yeah, yeah,
Like in their heyday, we never had anything.
Well, it's
I
why
mean, it's like when Star Wars came out, it was like you had the toys and then and that was it. But we didn't even get that for this. So it's
yeah, for
strange to me. Like this, I feel like is way more of like a cultural comeuppance than it is actual evidence of progress moving forward.
well,
and
that's
I think
go ahead.
I was gonna say I think they always tried to make Banjo Kazooie their Mickey Mouse at Rare
Yeah.
because there was a cartoon that was planned that was canned. There was a Nuts and Bolts 2 that was planned and canned. There's tons of cameos of Banjo Kazooie and tons of other content. There is Banjo show got his own new statue. He was one of the people that was a mascot of Game Pass for the longest time before his replacement was Sea of Thieves Pirates.
Yep.
He was just their unofficial mascot that they've really tried to push for everything, but they just never can get it in full force. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw the chart I made of all the canceled Banjo Kazooie products.
I did.
Yeah, I'll just post it just in case.
Yeah, but go ahead and post it and I'll put it up here too.
Yeah. Oh,
It's definitely one of those things where I personally think that the merchandise that they have currently pushing out is something that is leading up to something because of something that I said earlier, that it just doesn't seem like, I don't understand why they would put out merch for something that doesn't have any sort of weight besides just the IP alone. You know what I mean?
well, like recently with Vex. It's a 3D platformer that was on the original Xbox.
Yeah.
They recently released the official soundtrack on a vinyl, and it was retweeted by the original like company and everything. So I think these companies are going to they're everybody's cashing in because it's the new trend, like Fortnite. Um, Everything was the Hunger Games and stuff. Right now is the reboot renaissance. Whether
Yeah.
Rare wants to sit on that or not is up to them. But like they already partook in the renaissance. They revived Battletoads. They revived. I don't know if Rare actually had any hand in Perfect Dark's reboot. They probably had some. But
I guess you could say the very early reboot era was Killer Instinct.
yeah, and I think Killer Instinct was just a reboot because they wanted to test a new payment model for DLC
Right.
and seasonal stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but, like,
and who handled Killer Instinct? It wasn't Rare themselves,
That
was it?
was no Iron Galaxy took over afterward, but I don't remember who the original team that started it
I
was.
watched an interview, or not an interview,
Yeah.
a documentary with a bunch
it was
of
done,
about
it was Double Helix.
Double Helix.
Double Helix,
Right,
that's
right.
right.
Double Helix. So, and they had Rare
From that one Green Lantern game.
yeah. They had Double Helix who made a Green Lantern game, and then they're like, "No, let's make Killer
Buffy.
Instinct." And that was great.
No, that's right. They did Buffy the Vampire Slayer too.
They did Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and then
Or was that Iron?
No,
Oh,
I don't.
shit.
I don't remember, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But point is it's like it's nice to see like those companies that like to be trusted with something like that, which is why I think that they're going to trust a company to do this, and that's why I think a Banjo-Kazooie remake is definitely a giant possibility, and that's kind of what I say. That's what exactly what I think. Not a new game, but a remake for sure. So
I think
I think it would be a really interesting way to bring back that Banjo X idea.
that's what I've always
That
said.
like you could do like a remake, but with like changed dialogue, and then just have it be like, why does this seem so familiar? And they're like, I don't know.
Well, the whole idea
Just
for
roll with
Banjo
it.
X was that levels were going to change too.
Right.
Yeah, it was basically it was going to be same enough that it was a remake, but it'll have a whole bunch of tidbits added, so original fans would be like, "Oh, I'm not replaying the same game again. I'm replaying it addition."
It's new.
So
Yeah.
I think that is probably where we're probably gonna wrap this
Good
up.
enough place to stop.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I did with my fucking document list.
I feel like my back is no longer the same shape it was when we started.
Like a Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I just get rid of it like an idiot? I can't remember. Anyway, I want to. Here we go. I moved it. That's why. So anyway, I want to bring this up with anybody before we really do wrap this up. If there's anybody in chat or anybody of you guys that have any last topics that you'd like to just kind of throw in the ring, because this is something that I want to do in the for chat and for the podcast going forward. Is I want to know if there's anything that anybody wants to throw their ring in to discuss for just a few minutes. But if not, I think this is where we're going to wrap it up. Stuart, Okiland, you guys have anything that you'd also like to mention before we move on?
I don't really have any closing points. I think we nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it up pretty white. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited to do more of these.
So, well, about you, Okiland, did you have anything?
No, I didn't really plan on anything else at the end.
Okay. Well, I think that's probably where we're going to wrap it up then. It is like I said, it is the very first episode of the OverByte podcast. I know we had struggles in the beginning in terms of audio, especially still right now in terms of audio. So I apologize to headset users if you are listening to just one side of my voice. I will bring both the left and right side of my voice in the future, and I'm hoping that the audio version of this is not having the same issue. So this first episode may actually just be a TV video only, but we will. Yeah. So going forward, we will try to actually make sure the audio set. I got a new mic today, so that's where I'm blaming my audio problems.
If it makes you feel any better, I sound exclusively good in the left ear. So you're really all these Stewart fans are going to be really upset.
I just go my entire life without knowing what I sound like, and I've been happier about it.
yeah. I'm definitely in that camp where it's like every time somebody takes a video of me and then I'm like,
is that my voice?
No, that's what I sound like. Fuck, I'm shrill.
I should sound like a Giga Chad now, right?
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Make sure to, if you guys are new to the channel, I do play tons of literally everything. I speedrun Banjo-Kazooie like probably every other day. So if you want to make sure and come by and watch me some more, and if you like what you see, I'm planning on doing these podcasts at least once a month for now, and as they go forward, we might do it twice a month. So, yeah, make sure to give me a follow here and whatever you want. If you enjoyed it, please give me a follow, or follow me on Twitter, or even follow Okiland on Twitter, as well as the the Facts About Banjo-Kazooie account, which I will pull up literally right now and throw into
Metaphorically.
Throw into chat, so that way if anybody would like to go and find that account right now, you guys can go ahead and do that. But definitely go and give the Facts About the Banjo-Kazooie account a follow, as well as me on Twitter if you would like, and as well on the Twitch channel itself. So,
I'd rather you guys follow the Facts account than my personal account, unless political talking, and that's not something you want to say.
Yeah.
It's been a rough year for personal accounts.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody's a little heated the last
my
12
Twitch
months.
I'm a small guy, so my Twitch account has to be my personal account as well. So definitely give the Facts About a Banjo-Kazooie account, and go ahead and follow me if you'd like to as well. My mind is weird, so that's where I go and tweet some stuff.
I don't have Twitter. All my opinions are bad.
You can follow him on. You can follow Stuart on Instagram at WonderStuzen if you'd like to follow him.
Oh God, is that my username?
At WonderStuzen. It works.
Why don't I know that? I should probably know that.
Anyway.
Oh, well.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for being a part of the first episode. And Stuart, thank you so much for this. And you're going to be here for all the episodes. So stick in and enjoy the ride, buddy. And
Whether they like it or not.
I could hear the chains on his leg right now.
Right.
Okiland, thank you so much for being a part of this. I know this is kind of, kind of outside your realm just a little bit, but I appreciate you coming here and having a good talk and wrapping up our tinfoil hats.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm used to being some fodder on Twitch streams a little bit.
Right on. Well, and like I said, man, thank you again, and thank you everyone to listening. And this is where I'm gonna sign off. So, bye everybody.
Doodle.
Have a good one. Bazinga.